the meeting of Wednesday, August 14th, 2019 to order. And before we begin, I'd like to state for the record that the entire proceeding this evening, except for any executive session, are being recorded for both TCTV Cable Station 8 and the TCTV YouTube channel. Therefore, there is no need for additional recording, but I would like to know if there is anyone recording. If so, could you please state for the record? Okay, seeing none. And I ask that anyone is recording, please announce that. Thank you. As always, our agenda for this evening has been set no later than 48 hours by law and is publicly available at the official source for town information, templetonmass.gov, and also other places that it's required to be done. I would also remind all citizens of the 4 villages to sign up or register for emergency updates using Code Red system. It is on the left-hand side of the website screen near the bottom. We have discretion, or actually Mike has discretion as chairperson to add or remove for the agenda, and I will say that I am taking one thing out of order because an attorney needs to be somewhere at a site plan meeting by 7:30, so I will be taking the trailer permit of 37 Myrtle Street out of order for the public hearings. It has been set to allow for time, personnel resources, and public awareness. Thank you. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would like to take this opportunity now for any public comment. If you would do so, if you would please come up to the microphone and state your name and address for the record.
My name, what?
Don't touch the mics, please.
Oh, it's...
All right, let's pull it closer.
You don't need to.
You don't need to, okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
My name's Steve Drury, 18 Drury Lane, Templeton, Mass. I have a couple comments, permission to 2 comments. First of all, I'm coming before you to, I've filed several complaints over years over trailers not having permits on illegal property known as 858 Patriot Road, which is actually 21 Drury Lane. A number of unregistered vehicles and junk, tires, you name it, it's there. And the building inspector and the Board of Health has given notice to the property owners in Vermont, but the bottom line is that they've never been cited. I'm asking the town selectmen to physically cite the violations. Now there is a court case that was pending in a neighborhood, in a neighbor's issue, and they brought the town in, but the town has never answered my complaints as to going forward with an enforcement. My understanding of how living in a trailer or even having a trailer present is all temporary. The bylaws basically state that you have to go through the planning boards, and it's where you have a trailer, the basic situation is that it's, you know, if you're building a house or something, but when you're going to live in it, you're supposed to have water and septic, you know, I mean, it's a natural thing. Well, these trailers have none of that. Many of the trailers on the property are storage vehicles, which don't have any permits. In fact, the town card, tax card, actually adopts the illegal address of 858 Patriot Road. And that's not true. It's actually 21, again, Drury Lane. The bottom line is that I have filed, as a studious person, external obsolescence for a number of years, and it's been declined as it was up to 33% on my property taxes. It went down to 20% without any, recourse of explanation, and then it went down to 10%, and it's been 10% ongoing for over 10 years. The town actually had 2 court cases that happened 10 years ago, and they were told that when 24 Drury Lane was foreclosed upon, that all of the stuff that was on there was not supposed to go on to 21 Drury Lane, and that's exactly what happened. However, there's the office of trying to say a person that lives there or their abode, there's electricity there, and it's a continuum. You know, there are 2 people living on the property. And my contention to the matter is that I want all the stuff removed, because there's no permits there for any of this stuff. I want all the trailers removed. They're parking campers there, and I'm going to propose a law that I basically plagiarized from other towns through Boston, where they state that you should only have 1 trailer. If you're going to go camping, you should have 1, maybe 2 trailers, and they should be registered, and then they should go out and go camping. These vehicles never leave. They're there year after year, year after year. Now, the people who live in these trailers are using the trailers for also bathrooms. So what we basically have is a couple of squatters that were former owners that that are on the property, and they continuously pay for vacant property, and they live on the property. And of course that brings down the property values, and and that's what my neighbor's case is all about. This has gone on way too long. I've held back, and I know that I can take the case to court, and because of non-action from the town. But what's really interesting is trailers are basically forbidden from this town, period, unless you do that one situation or get a special permit through the, issue of whether you're building a house, all right, or other than that, you can't really live in one. That's what the bylaws say. And unless there's 2 parks, I believe, in town that address that. So if you want to put a trailer there, you can do that. So I want action. So I'm here on that, and to give you notice publicly that needs to be done. I've been told that the selectmen are the ones that need to direct the building inspector and the Board of Health lady to file inspections and go to the property and do this. And it's time we do this, because I'm sick of looking at the junk. They also use the junk as spike fences, and they surround themselves so they can't be seen. It's just it needs liberation, and that's what one of the reasons why I'm here. The next reason that I'd like to bring up as a comment is that, I'm for cannabis. I think that the school, however, issue where they're going to put a grow, the money that comes from that, I'd like to see that get paid down the debt issue for responsibility. $500,000, even if it's in segments, it would be physically responsible for this board to lower the debt that we have, and that's a perfect time to do that. If the money's going to be used for traffic or some police actions or something like that, it's going to run out, and it's just going to be another continuum. And so you have to come up with a different plan. And I'm very impressed that one of the selectmen is using an electronic device to be here. And as you know, I've spoke with you, Ms. Brooks, about, really changing the whole curriculum of the school and doing the school through computers and having the kids stay home K through 12 like China's doing, where they have 33 million people doing it. And this is the technology that needs to be incorporated to our kids. It's the best investment we could possibly do. It would handle all the parking problems. It would handle all the issues by turning the new smart school into a laboratory and dismissing the whole idea of Narragansett, just making that a field for that place. And for the monies that would be saved, other curriculums could be happening. I mean, it's just a great opportunity all the way around for everyone. And, you know, a pilot program is actually happening, I believe, in Illinois. And this really needs to be seriously done because it's coming anyway. And they're doing doctors are actually performing operations through holograms like the Star Trek holodeck without cadavers. It's incredible stuff. And if you really want your children to know what's going on in the world, this is the beginning. And when we're in the 21st century, all that other stuff is old. And we can take the step now and do that. You know, we'll have a smart building, we'll have a perfect opportunity to resolve everything, and it will also help the Phillipston people who don't want to come to town. They can stay home. And the advancements that go with the kids, it puts the responsibility directly to the children, and that's the quicker you get that in their heads. The social thing can happen other places, but the social thing is not what we're paying for. We're paying for an education. And I couldn't get an education out of that school, all right, because of the social thing, because of the political correctness, all right, that was going on back in the 60s. So my issue to you is to consider these things, because these are real answers to your problems, and no one has done that. And I thank you for listening to me.
Can we ask questions? Are we allowed to ask questions?
What?
Did you say you had a draft motion, a draft law? Is that something that we are supposed to hear?
No.
I didn't understand that part.
No, not at this moment in time.
Okay,
He says he's going to draft a motion.
okay.
Yeah, well, I actually have drafted the law. I plagiarized the law that was from another town that basically states that if you have two campers and they're movable and they go camping or something and they're registered, then they can stay on the property. But when you have several, 5, 6, 7, 12, you know, that's not right, okay? And when people live in them, you know, that's another issue. And trying to prove residence, you know, this particular property has an illegal mailbox, 858, you know, and it's not even, you know, the police, I went to the police and I said, does 858 exist? And they went, no. And I went, oh, well, give me a letter to that effect, please. And they gave it to me, you know, and I shared it with your town official, okay? So you see, how do you prove a person lives in a place? Well, over a number of years, this has been going on for 10 years. Same people, same issues, same thing. What we need is the town to act. We need the town to bring a court case. We need the town to at least cite the matter and at least come back to me and say, we can't afford it because there are options under the law. Because you don't do it, I can bring the case myself. But you have the responsibility because you have the bylaws. It's your laws that we're enforcing. You understand? Mm-hmm. I can't enforce those laws, you do. And you have actual agents, you know, the building inspector and the Board of Health lady who have to go out there and cite that. To leave somebody living there without a toilet, or, you know, or let's just say they're using those toilets, but even if they are, there's no, they could be defecating anywhere, you know, for that matter. There's no water, and it isn't the two essential things in a town property before residence is required, even in a temporary trailer for housing, is to have the water and the septic system hooked. It's not. This needs to be condemned. End of story. Then we can call the police when people are there. And again, I thank you. That's what the law.
Thank you very much, Steve.
Okay, the law that I'm proposing, I can't bring forward because I'm late at the meeting, but I will watch, you know, then the next town
For the next
meeting,
warrant.
when it comes up, I'll go out and get the required signatures. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Drury.
Keys are here.
Stephen, your keys.
Oh, I'd forget my hat if I didn't wear it.
Is there any other public comment?
In reference to,
I'm sorry, Kate, you'll have to come to the microphone and state your name and address.
my cane, so if I fall over, somebody will have to pick me up. My only comment is in aid of Steve mentioning the Chinese system of education.
Could you just, for the record, state your name and address?
Oh, my name is Kate Fulton. Catherine is my official name. I live at 79 Bridge Street in
Thank you.
Baldwinville. And this is a response to Steve, who mentioned the Chinese education system. I don't know what studies our own education board has done, but I would suggest that while I'm sure there are things we could learn from China, probably the best education system in the world at this point is in Finland, and that's the one you need to study,
Okay.
among others. I mean, don't limit yourselves.
Thank you, Kate. Any other public comment?
I'm right here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Terry Griffiths, 12 Drury Lane. I have to recuse myself as a selectman from the situation on Drury Lane, Patriots Road, but as a resident of 12 Drury Lane, I can say that it is a problem. It's been a problem. I'm fearful. I'm always afraid to say something because there are repercussions. People do get angry, not Mr. Drury that's present, not Steve Drury. And he's been through a lot, and there is a water line involved that keeps getting dug up, and it could freeze that connects to 2 other properties. So there is a situation there. It's ongoing, and it really should be addressed. And I think a lot of it is fear. I've talked to people, and they're afraid. What are we afraid of? They're afraid of certain people and repercussions that we shouldn't be bullied. Laws should be established, laws should be followed, and I hate displacing people because I think one is homeless, and it bothers me, but at the same time, there's a lot of things that are going on there that are bad for the environment, and that shouldn't be happening.
Well, I'll be sure that we look into that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, seeing none. At this time, we'll move on to item 4, to the meeting minutes for June 26th, July 10th, and July 18th. We can either take motions all together, or we can take motions separately, whichever you prefer. Have you had a chance to read them all?
Yes.
Yes. Unless there's an objection to putting them all together.
Okay.
I think we could do them all together, but unless someone knows that they didn't want to be, bundling them together because they know that they're not going to vote to admit them, I think we just need to be able to say that.
Okay, so if someone would like to make motions separately, that would be fine as well.
Sure. I move to approve the minutes of June 26th, July 10th, and July 18th as written.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
Have a first and a second. Jeff, how do you vote?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes?
Mike?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. That's unanimous. We have executive session minutes for June 19th. Those are in my email. That is the correct date?
Yep.
Polly,
Yes.
that is the correct date? Okay. So, do I have a motion to approve the executive session minutes of June 19th to be held until deemed appropriate for release?
So moved.
Do I have a first? Do I have a second?
Second?
I have a first and a second. Jeff, how do you vote?
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Mr. Terenzini, we're moving on to item 5A. Do we have an introduction of any new employees?
We do, and I would defer to Bob Sosik, our Director of Public Works, to make those introductions.
Hello, Bob.
Mr. Chairman, Board, Bob Sosek, DPW Director of Templeton. I'd like you to welcome 2 new members to the Building and Grounds team, Brian and Jake Montana. Got Brian Walsh, who lives in town, is the laborer, and Jacob Babcock is the new foreman on Buildings and Grounds. They're working out well.
Hello, Brian. Hello,
Hi.
Jacob. Welcome
Welcome.
aboard.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you both. Thank you for coming to our meeting. We wish you luck.
Thank you.
Okay. So we have action on appointments for a library trustee, cultural council, and advisory committee.
Madam Chairman, I'm not quite sure how this happened, but advisory committee was incorrectly listed.
Okay.
Actually, the Council on Aging, and due to the
Hold
failure
on.
to go back to post the Council on Aging, I would suggest in caution that you defer that and instead deal with the library trustee and cultural council, and we will repost the Council on Aging for your next agenda. My apologies.
Okay. So council, and not advisory committee also, right? So it's just,
I think that's the best thing to do.
so it's just the library trustee
And the
and the cultural council?
That is our suggestion, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, Diane, I move to appoint Lauren Chartier as library trustee for a 1-year term to expire in June 30th of 2020.
So moved.
So they have a first, actually, and a second. So you're making the first motion, Mike?
I am.
So you can second that? So I have a first and a second. Jeff, how do you vote?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well.
I move to appoint Sally Waite to the Cultural Council for a 3-year term expiring June 30th of 2022.
Okay, I have a first. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Jeff, how do you vote?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Thank you for volunteering your time.
Madam Chairman.
Diane? Kate has her hand up.
I'm sorry?
Kate has her hand up.
Yes?
Yes.
Smile.
You're back?
Well, this is why I came. The other just happened to be something. You just appointed someone as library trustee. I had also applied for the job. I have an exceptional background, and I'd like to know what the person that has just been assigned to the job, what her background is.
Mr. Terenzini?
The Council on Aging, which Ms. Fulton applied for, appeared a better fit at the time of appointment and was, I believe, listed as her preferred choice. And had we not made an error, yes, the Council on Aging was actually her preferred choice in the order of preference, with library trustee being second. So given a need for applicants for the COA, given an applicant for the library trustees, this seemed a good fit to do it in that order. Unfortunately, the error in preparing the agenda did not allow you to go forward tonight, but we certainly hope that Ms. Fulton will continue to be interested on 28 August to serving on the Council on Aging.
Okay, well, that sounds great. I mean, I'd love to serve on the COA. I didn't realize that listing them in a certain order meant that I had a preference. I think the COA does need people, and I think I could do the job, but I think I'm so much better qualified for library trustee. I was a library trustee in Phillipston. In fact, we appointed Jackie Prime, our librarian at the time. I have worked in both a public and a college and a college library. I was a librarian at Becker College. I was a librarian in Winchendon. I know the Dewey Decimal System, the Library of Congress system, and a third system that is used in Britain. I'm extremely well-read. I have a BA with honors in English language and literature from the University of London. I also have a secondary degree, or what you call them, master's degrees, in the teaching of English and drama on the secondary level. And I have reading certification from Fitchburg State University. I also have a graduate certificate in software engineering from Boston University. And as I say, I'm very well read. Right now, the book I happen to be reading is Solar by Ian McEwan, who's probably one of the greatest writers in the English language, contemporary writers in the English language. If you'd like to know other books that I read, I don't just read literature, although my knowledge is very extensive. I read history, biography, politics, science, and I just wonder if the person that has been granted the job has the same background I have. And if they do, or if they not only have the same background, but exceed my background, then that's fine.
I don't know if they're volunteer positions, Kate.
I know.
And I think that what Carter was saying is it went in order of what we considered a preference, and we've already nominated these positions, and I think I would encourage you,
But I don't
if another
remember-
one comes up,
But I don't
to apply
remember
for it
being
again.
invited in to have my background discussed. And I'd like to hear from any other person. I mean, there's several people, so I'm wondering how many of these people have also applied for the job, and I'm wondering what their background, and I think that would be interesting for the public to know.
So is there only one position?
I'm gobsmacked.
Can I comment?
Ms. Chartier applied a month ago. The form
She
says,
wants
please
to do the
indicate
job."
below, comma, in order of preference, comma, the board or committee that you're interested in.
Right.
It has never been this board's policy
to
get into
discuss.
extensive debate of the merits. Our recommendation was Ms. Chartier because of the timeline in which she applied and the preference that Ms. Fulton put on her form. And we're blessed with an abundance of interest, but we do have a number of positions to fill, and we made recommendations to you based
And
upon
we
what
filled
we
them.
thought was in the best interests of the community. I would respectfully suggest that getting into a debate in public of the particulars
We don't want a debate.
of only two people really doesn't serve the public interest.
Were there
It
only
would
two applicants? Is that what you're
serve
saying?
to dampen further interest from the public.
Yeah, we don't want to,
in these
we're not going to
volunteer
debate about it.
positions.
Were there only two applicants?
I can answer that. So since I've been here for 6 years, the policy has been, I get an application, there is one opening for library trustees. This was early July 9th, I got her application. I sent it to the person responsible for that committee, which is Jackie Prime. She sent back to me that she would love to have Lauren on there. So to me, that fills the position until the board decides on that. Then a few weeks later, I got yours, and that was the COA, and all three of them. So I put you on.
Yeah, I don't want to be on all three. I'd be on.
No, I put you on the COA because.
Don't worry, I'm not
in my
looking
mind,
to
the library
fill up
trustee
my
was
calendar.
filled if appointed. So that's kind of how we've done it. And then my typo was putting the advisory committee, I don't know how I did that. Must have been a little tired Thursday when I did the agenda. And I put that on instead of the COA, so.
But I'm surprised that someone like Jackie doesn't know my background. I was on a board
But the
that...
position was already filled.
Kate, she didn't even know you applied.
The position was already filled.
I attended a meeting of the COA,
Kate, I really don't want to debate this. Laura Chartier applied for the position, it was filled. Now, we didn't have any meetings in July. We took a vacation. Now this is our
Okay,
first meeting in
then-
August.
Good. I was at a COA meeting in July. Carter was there, other people were there. There was a form available. I filled it out. Nobody said it's too late. If they had said to me, "You're wasting your time," I said, "Okay, fine. I'm wasting my time. It's already gone." But that was never said, nor was there ever a follow-up phone call after I'd made the application.
If I could ask Kate a question?
He wants to ask me a
Kate,
question.
Yeah.
when you filled out your community interest form, did you fill in, not so much preferences, but did you say that you were interested in a few different positions, not just one?
Yeah, I put down 3 things. Not that I want to be on all 3.
Right, so in handling those community interest forms, the process by which we go through those, and it's not always a collective decision, but it's based on need. So if you had basically said, "I'm volunteering, here's my background," I appreciate you going through it, but I think the more we get to know you, we definitely know what your capabilities are. You're right, there are a lot of them, and you have a lot of talent. But in this case, I believe that they did the prioritization based on time and the fact that you actually were willing to do a number of different positions, which I think is great. And it allows us flexibility in assigning personnel to the right task. If we wind up having 2 smart library people and one got to the job first, then that's where we're at right
But
now.
are they as qualified? If I had filed at too late a date, then I should have been told that at the time, or if it hadn't been known at the time, subsequently by somebody in the selectman's office.
I think we could take it offline. For right now, the appointment stands. I think that, as Carter had said, we're trying to do basically a shuffle of COA and advisory positions. So let's take a look at that offline, and I would recommend that we continue on with the agenda this evening.
Yeah. Well, I'd still like to know the person's background.
So I can't provide that for you right now, but I can get an answer to you.
Okay, that would be
Always good for that.
lovely. Yeah, I'd really appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, good night.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Kate. Sorry for your inconvenience.
Okay, so that's finished. Okay, so I would like to open the public hearing for the trailer permit for 37 Myrtle Street, if you could all come forward.
First of all, Madam Chairman, I'm Attorney Richard Sella, and I'd like to thank you as the chairperson and the board for extending the courtesy
You're
of
welcome.
taking this out of order.
Can you see, Michael?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I just wanted to turn it in the right direction.
This is the application of Joe Temple to put a trailer or replace a trailer on the property at 37 Myrtle Street. You'll see in the package, there's a taped survey. You'll see that the town of Templeton, the sewer service is there. There's no Title V. The sewer department, highway surveyor have approved it. Mr. Hanks, the building commissioner, has approved it. A driveway is already in place.
How long has this trailer been on the property?
I'm sorry?
How long has the trailer been on the property? If you don't mind me asking.
Probably 10 years, Joe, that trailer's been there.
I guess, because
Okay.
they want to
Trailer
buy
to
the
be
place
removed.
this year.
Right, I just wanted to know how long it's been on the property. I know it's there, it's been removed. And then I did want to ask about the encroaching shed. Who does that belong to?
Well, that's, what's going to happen is the surveyor's going to be there, and the surveyor's going to put down some permanent markers at the boundary so we can determine the nature and extent of the encroachment and whether the encroachment is...
That is your shed?
No,
And-
that
No,
is the
it's-
next door
goes-
neighbor's.
That is the Sears shed?
Yes.
Okay, it didn't specify, so I wasn't really sure whose shed that was.
Yeah, that shed's
So it's the
encroaching on
Sears
my
shed?
property.
Okay, it's encroaching on your property?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Temple, does that interfere with your plan to switch out the trailers?
No.
Okay.
Okay. So, okay, so the abutters are not here, but I have been asked to read a letter into record. I've also been asked to read a letter into record from the building commissioner. And, sorry, I have to put this away. I was given something else. So, from Daniel E. and Joan R. Sears of 35 Myrtle Street, Baldwinville, Massachusetts, and they provided their phone number. Question: how much land do you need to put a property on? Isn't it at least 1 acre? If the board decides to allow a permit, these are my concerns. Because our drain falls partially on the 37 Myrtle Street property, is there going to be an issue? The town made the previous owner put it there to prevent flooding in our cellar. Also, the tie wall, which holds back all the dirt in our driveway from washing down onto the drain, also falls partially on 37 Myrtle Street property. Is that going to be a problem? Can the tie wall stay and the drain stay? Do the statute of limitations, which it's been 29 years for the drain and 28 years for the tie wall, there has never been any issue since they were both installed. When the previous owner put the trailer there, it was part of a grandfather clause. He sold the property as a separate entity. Does that cancel out the clause? Which means that only a trailer of the same footprint can be put there, even though the zoning board said he could put a trailer there if he put it where the garage was. Is that true? I'm not sure if there's anyone here who can answer any of those questions, but this is from March 25th, 2019, to the Board of Selectmen from Richard Hanks, the building commissioner, regarding 37 Myrtle Street mobile replacement. Joe Temple has applied for a building permit to replace an existing mobile home located at 37 Myrtle Street. Mr. Temple was seeking a setback variance from the zoning board of appeals. Mr. Temple has since opted to remove a garage structure so that he will not need a variance. At this time, the building department will be able to approve the building permit for a replacement mobile home after the Board of Selectmen approve the replacement. If you have any questions regarding this letter, please contact me. Sincerely, Richard D. Hanks. With a copy that went to Joe Temple at 25 High Street in Orange, a street file, and also in a binder. So, Mr. Terenzini, are there any answers to this property? I had already asked, is grandfathered in. You do not need an acre. I do not know how to answer the drainage question or the tie wall question, and it is part of a grandfather clause.
Well, with respect to the drainage, that will remain because that's arranged with the town. The tie wall issue, I would refer to council, but it's my belief that that would be a civil matter between the parties. It would take me a more detailed effort to give you a more certain and better answers than that.
Okay.
Council may
I have a
have some
question.
advice.
So the tie wall and the drainage issue, do those benefit Dan and Joan Sears? If it has to do with 37 Myrtle, is it benefiting the Sears? Is their question based on any changes to it? And really why I'm asking that question, if it's benefiting the Sears, I think we could ask Mr. Temple right now if there was any plans within, looking at the overhead right now, are there any plans to change the tie wall or the drainage in this?
As long as it's approved, no.
Okay. In your view, does it benefit? Is that something that the Sears did not want, or does it benefit the Sears to have that tie wall and drainage?
It's only to their benefit.
Okay. Because that, Diane, to me, it seems that they're bringing up not as an opposing issue, but basically a question. They're interested to see if that landowner in his plan had any change, any issues to change it.
Okay.
But I also defer to what Mr. Terenzini said as well. I think during the hearing that we bring up this issue in terms of what does it mean to both parties. That's what satisfies the issue to me. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Mr. Temple, I forget what your lawyer's name is, but he looks a little concerned.
I
Mr.
can't
Sella.
hear you.
Attorney Sella.
I can't hear you, so I don't
Okay.
understand.
He's asking who the benefit is for. Is it for the Sears or is it for Mr. Temple?
I think he answered it was basic for the Sears,
Yeah.
the abutter.
I'm satisfied.
Are they good neighbors?
With that.
Yes.
Are they good neighbors? It's a good neighbor thing?
I got along with him until I tried putting this trailer in.
Okay.
Do you think it's because he's concerned that the questions that he asked?
Yeah,
But that's not going to change.
that won't change.
To your knowledge, that's not going to change because the size of the trailer is a little bigger.
No.
Right, Terry, I heard their letter, the Sears' letter.
Yeah.
I didn't see, if they have, as Mr. Temple was saying, if they were, if bad blood were born just because of a new trailer, it seems their concerns are more about how 35 Myrtle Street and 37 Myrtle Street interact with barriers or drainage or anything else, not so much about the fact that it's a new trailer. At least I don't hear that in the letter that Diane read.
I agree. It's just the question of, is the footprint of the trail is going to change a little, but they're more concerned about the landscape changing to keep their basement dry and to keep their current situation copacetic because it's working.
Right.
So you're not planning on changing the tie wall or the drainage?
I wasn't planning on it.
Okay. Because they're thinking that if you're changing it, it will cause flooding in their cellar.
Yeah,
That's really it appears to be the main issue, is that it will cause flooding in their cellar. So a bigger trailer will not change the footprint of the drainage or the tie wall?
I don't see where it would.
Okay. Is there any way that you can point out to me on this drawing where the drainage and the tie wall is?
Great question. I was going to ask that.
I'm sorry, I'm hearing impaired.
You need a pen?
This is where the trailer is right now. Their driveway is right here.
Their driveway is here?
Yeah, the trailer is gonna stay. This edge and this edge, right where it is.
So the
This
new,
edge and this edge will get a little bit bigger. This one will be about 6 feet bigger, and it'll be about 2 feet bigger this way. Mm-hmm. That's the only
so the
difference.
solid line is where the new trailer is?
Yes.
And the drainage is where their
The
driveway?
drainage is, the driveway goes to about here, and the drain is right about here, right in front of their house.
Okay. And the tie wall?
That is right along here.
Along the back of the trailer?
Yeah, about 7 feet off the trailer on my land.
Okay. Do you see that, Jeff?
I drove out to those.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so nothing with that would be planning on being changed. Did you hear that, Mike?
I did.
Okay. And the garage is being removed, and
Garage is
so that
done.
will not affect anything. Oh, sorry, I forgot to give you your pen back. Okay. Well, that kind of solidifies things for me.
Mr. Temple, we got another question for you. When I look at a satellite overhead and I overlay the drawings, the Army Corps of Engineer drawings, or the plot plan, I should say, it appears that the same property line where that shed lies, their driveway also intersects on that line as well.
Yep.
Okay. And I'm to understand that until the issue of the new trailer, everyone was happy neighbors.
Right.
Okay.
When I bought the property and we started having this problem, I had my land surveyed. And that's when I found out what I actually own.
Right, I understand that. I can definitely see, I can see that.
By Zoc.
Diane, I have no further questions.
Mr. Davin, do you have anything to add to the, I know that we got, something should have happened prior to this by the Light and Water.
Well, I'd like to start with the beginning.
Okay.
Mr. Temple did come to ZBA and won the zoning board of appeals. And the only things we asked of him was, because he came with a pencil drawing, he didn't have the plot plan. And we asked him for pictures of this trailer because he said it was a 1988 trailer that he wanted to put in there, not a new trailer.
Okay.
And we needed more information on the trailer, or mobile home. It's the first time someone ever came in to see us with a 1988. Usually it's a brand-new modular home. And we extended the meeting. He was going to come back to us with this information. And then the next thing you know, I heard he's coming here. So I found it was pretty odd. I didn't understand, so that's why I'm here.
Well, according to
He's already
the,
paid it was $500 and something to go through us.
he paid that?
Yeah, and I don't know,
Okay.
did he have to pay to come here too?
So Mr. Temple has since opted to remove a garage structure, so he will not need a variance.
But we,
I think that's why he didn't come back.
well, we wouldn't have denied him because that's a good thing. So if he came back, that's a good thing.
Oh,
Well,
so
I'm
he
kinda
did, he
confused
probably
on
didn't
what's-
come back because he didn't need a variance. Is that an accurate statement, Mr.
Yes.
Temple? That's why
But
he didn't come
He'd
back.
pretty much get the same answer from us if he's gonna get from you. So I find it odd that he's here.
Your concern is you didn't see a picture.
Because according to the
That's what I'm
bylaw,
saying, it would be simple for him just to come back to us with the proper information.
Section 1,
Also,
Article 14, no person shall establish a trailer as a residence or mobile home without first obtaining a permit for same from the Board of Selectmen. That's why he has to be here, because he has to obtain something from the Board of Selectmen, according to our bylaws.
Okay. But you still,
This hearing,
That's correct, Jeff? Correct.
Madam Chairman, if I might, he needed this hearing whether or not he got the variance.
okay.
Right.
But he still would have been in better shape walking in here with something from us, I would think. It would have helped him.
Right.
It would have been a good
But I think he didn't come back because he had gotten this letter from the building inspector that he didn't need a variance, so that's,
Okay.
right, Mr. Temple?
Right.
That's why
So
he
I can
didn't come
move on.
back. So he just kept going.
Okay, the other questions I do have are, I'm also the water superintendent for the town of Templeton. And
Yeah.
we normally get something from the building inspector on the trailer, you know, the make, the model, the year. If I need to know how well it's insulated underneath the mobile home, so that the pipes won't freeze during the winter months because they get pretty cold. And I haven't seen anything. So I'd like to see something like that tonight if I could.
Lori, could you answer those? Could you just come up? I'm sorry.
That's okay. Speaking for the building department, there is no application yet. It has to be approved here. Mr. Temple will provide the information with the permit to put the trailer down. He can't move ahead without your approval.
Okay, so he has to have our approval first.
Correct.
Okay.
Well,
And Madam Chairman, if I might,
Yes.
draft motion before you, because this form is old and did not have a check for light and water, but only for sewer, the draft motion before you is suggested to be one which requires the approval of the light
all
department
departments,
superintendent, the water department superintendent, final permit from the building inspector, and fire safety inspection by the fire chief. So what Mr. Davin is speaking to will be forthcoming.
Right.
If and when this board gives Mr. Temple the authority to proceed.
Right, so right now we're having discussion, and then when we close the hearing, we will go to vote.
okay.
So you're in here.
It just seems like it's, I don't, what is it that you give him? 'Cause I just feel like.
We
you're
give him
saying-
approval to move forward, subject to certain criteria. But we can't do that until we close the hearing.
Okay, I don't want to say it. I just feel that you're going to give him something that says it's okay to put the trailer in. Then he has a legal document just
Subject to.
to go forward without coming to see us.
No.
What does it actually?
No, that's not what the motion says.
Okay,
The motion says that he has to have approval of light and water and and fire, and
Okay.
so you'll hear all of that. But we have to close the hearing first before we can make a motion.
okay, thank you.
You're
Thank you for your time. Thanks, Mike.
Does anyone have any other questions for Attorney
Holly has
Sella?
her hand up.
I'm sorry,
I
Holly.
just want to clarify that. He will get a permit, but in the permit it says.
It's subject
these
to
are the
all those
conditions,
things.
And you have to go back to the building department to get.
Does that make sense? I'm sorry, Mr. Davin.
It's okay. I did want to mention, I did speak to the neighbor next door. I did drive down there, because when someone comes to us, I go and look around the neighborhood to see the situation, so I can actually, I know what, instead of just seeing a piece of paper like you have. And the woman next door did say there was an issue with the drainage. It's, when they get heavy rains or the spring thaw from the ice and snow, her basement floods. And I think the retaining wall, it looks pretty old, like it could be in failure. It could fall down. And she wanted that addressed in the drainage itself, when I spoke to her.
Okay.
Who's responsible for that?
It's on his property.
Yeah, but he didn't put it there, right?
I didn't put it there.
You own
If
it.
I have to do it, I'll build a retaining wall that will block his drain. It's clear how this is going, okay?
Well, so it's not your responsibility, it's
I would
just
say
your,
it's not my responsibility.
if you're being a
He
good
wants it,
neighbor.
He can take care of it.
I think if it boils down to a drainage plan, then the two parties can meet and figure this out. I think that's...
Say that again, Attorney Sella?
I said if it boils down to a drainage plan, I think the two parties should meet and work it out with grading and what have you. Zach's already done some work there. He should be able to produce a grading plan for these people and then see what level of retaining wall you need or don't need.
If I may, just one thing. It seems that his neighbors, it's in their benefit if he's allowed to put the trailer there, because if he's not, he has an empty piece of land. If that retaining wall is on his property, they're gonna have to come to him to do work on it, or it's gonna end up in the court system. And I'm not gonna give legal advice or anything, but I believe he would have the better hand. They have a shed that's partially on his property. So there's several things that it's to their benefit of him being in a good mood, to be a good neighbor, to address these things. If you're trying to get something done and someone else stops you from doing it, I believe most people are going to be in a bad mood, and they could end up in a worse situation. That's just my thought on this. It's to their benefit.
does seem
for
common
this
sense.
to and like you said, they're tearing down the garage, and I don't know how old it is, but if he's willing to tear it down, I wouldn't think it'd be worth too much, because if it was a good condition garage, it would be worth keeping. But he's gonna do that. He's putting a newer mobile home on the lot. He's
Property value goes up.
Moved it back, and
It's only adding value.
Right.
it's,
You would
and it's
know.
only like 2 by 6 foot change.
Right.
It's to their benefit
Okay.
to this, and this is just one step. He's got to meet other steps.
Right.
And, you know, they get together, and it would benefit his neighbors, in my opinion, if he follows through, if he is allowed to follow through with this plan, because otherwise, he has no incentive to do anything with that wall. He has all the incentive to tell them to get their shed off his land, and he has no incentive to be a nice guy, to let them hire somebody to come over and work on that wall. He has every incentive, if he's mad, to say, hey, get you off my property. They may end up in court and stuff, but to me, it's to their benefit, and to his benefit as a property owner, to take the step and move forward. But he's not automatically, just because if we vote yes, he's not automatically getting to do what he wants to do. It's the
Right, he has
first
to
step
go
in the
through all the
process.
steps. Right.
And, you know, they're all spinning their wheels until our decision.
Right.
So, thank you.
Michael, do you have any other questions?
I do not have any
Bob does.
questions.
Bob does.
I'm sorry, Bob, could you come forward?
Bob Sozik, Templeton, DPW. I'm not familiar with the property, but I agree with what Mike's saying.
Jeff?
The only concern I would have, if he gets granted to do all this and down the road, the drain or the retaining wall fails, that they're not gonna go after him to repair it. It's not his.
Well, it's in their best interest to be,
So, I mean, it's
Neighborly.
like a neighborhood agreement to maintain that, so
Right.
it stays working properly.
okay, thank you. So at this time, I would accept...
more.
Oh, come forward, Mr. Drury.
Steve Drury, 18 Drury Lane. I want to commend the fact that here's a person who's coming in, who's grandfathered for a trailer, who's trying to cooperate with the town and trying to do the things, and even with his neighbor. And he needs a place to stay, obviously, and you know, this should be approved. And again, it's all going to be legal binding because of the fact that, you know, the other 3 agencies are going to make sure that, you know, all of these things are correct. So I would, this is good. This is what's supposed to happen.
Thank you. So I would entertain a motion.
Motion to,
We have a new motion, Mike.
yep, here, I move that we come out of the public hearing for...
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Temple's trailer.
Second,
How do you vote, Jeff?
yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So we are out of the public hearing. So I would entertain a motion regarding the mobile home.
I move to approve the mobile home permit for Joseph Temple for a permanent 1988 Skyline Model 5161F, 14 feet by 66 mobile home for use as housing to be located at 37 Myrtle Street, Baldwinville, pending approval of the Light Department Superintendent, Water Department Superintendent, final permit from the Building Inspector, and fire safety inspection by the Fire Chief. Permit being approved on the condition that the current trailer mobile home will be removed from the property within 60 days of the installation of the new mobile home.
Second,
I have a first and I have a second. Jeff, how do you vote?
yes.
Terry?
Yes?
Mike?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well.
Thank you.
You're very
You're
welcome.
welcome.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I would now, we took that out of order. I would now like to open the hearing for the reduction of open hours on-premise alcohol licensee.
So moved.
I have a first. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a first and I have a second. Jeff, how do you vote?
Yes.
Terry?
You have a hand up?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So the hearing is open for the reduction of open hours on premises alcohol licensee. I believe, Chief, you will be speaking to that? No?
The
Yes?
chief is the proponent, so in this case, yes, he would speak on behalf of his request.
Yes.
Did you want to come forward? Please?
Honest answer or not?
Are you sure, Chief, you want to come forward?
I have no issue coming forward.
Did you just want to speak to this a little bit for the public, please, and for us? Like, we know why you want to do this, but I would like you to please speak to us about this. Mike, can you see the chief?
Yes, I can, thank you.
Okay, with the pending fiscal problems that the town is facing with the school budget being proposed, we were faced with cuts throughout the town. The department had to make substantial cuts. The cuts were equaled to one full-time police officer. We are currently already down one full-time police officer from the cuts of 2014. So essentially, we are down two. In order to make that work, we had to restructure the shifts. Our last patrolman goes off duty at 3 o'clock in the morning, and there is no other patrolman that comes on duty until 7 o'clock, well, strike that, 6 o'clock in the morning, which is myself. And having said that, it was a concern of the officers with having to go off at 3 o'clock, that the establishments close at 2, and then should something happens, it spills over, and then they're off duty before they can resolve the issue. This way, reverting back to 1 o'clock allows the officers a little buffer of 2 hours before they go off duty, that hopefully things are resolved before they go off duty.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Any questions from the board?
How many officers on do you have, like, right now?
Working right now?
Yeah, like on books, is it eight?
Seven.
Seven? And you're expecting to be down one?
No, we are down.
They already cut their shifts.
So, but you have seven on the
7
book?
patrolmen are currently working, yes.
Okay. And you have, is it 3 8-hour shifts, or?
They're overlapping now, Mr. Bennett. There's a lot of times during the day, I don't have the schedule out in front of me, there's a lot of times during the day that there's only one officer on duty. I'm the only patrolman on duty from 6 to 7. There's also only one officer on duty from 5 to 7. There's only one officer on duty on Saturday and Sunday from 5 to 7. So, yeah. There's a lot of times there's only one guy.
Chief, I got 2 questions for you.
Yes.
What is the effect on the establishments that sell alcoholic beverages? It doesn't have to do with business hours. It only has to do with the sale, the last call, basically, for the sale of alcohol on any opening hours. Does that make sense? What is the effect on a?
They lose 1 hour of
community?
They lose 1 hour of business.
Of just alcohol sales or hour of business?
Hour of business. They would be closing at 1, so their last call would probably be at midnight.
All right, so that's a little bit different. I thought it was just restricting the sale of alcohol 1 hour earlier.
Well, I don't see many of those establishments serving burgers. Sorry, Mike.
Earlier.
Sorry, Mike, but I don't see many of those establishments serving food after 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock.
I understand.
If I
So
may-
right now, last call is 1 o'clock, and then they close at 2. We would be moving last call to 12 o'clock and closing at 1.
That is correct.
Okay. Can we do that?
Holly, it's hot in here.
Of course you can. The town council said that They cited a public safety need.
There is a provision in the statute, and I'm afraid I don't have the legal opinion in front of us, but if, in the case of public necessity, the board makes a finding that this is required out of public necessity and public safety, you can do this mid-year. Obviously, if this becomes the board's decision, we would encourage you to give a couple of weeks' notice to the businesses. I will, if I might, just follow up on that, Madam Chairman.
Yes.
There were, just when we complete the public hearing, I would suggest that the board take into consideration that there were 11 such notices mailed out. I don't know how many might be present in the audience to speak, but I can tell you that we had contact from only one licensed entity, which said we never stay open after 1, so changing our license from 2 a.m. to 1 a.m. will not affect us. So I give you that, and then you can judge by how many folks appear to help you make your decision. But yes, the statute does allow for it under the conditions of a public hearing, and that there be a demonstrated public need.
I believe there's a demonstrated public need. I agree with the chief, and I think that we are down now 2 officers and putting people out there like that and having to, but everybody knows my position on that because it's been like that all year. May I poll the audience and see how many business owners are here? Just Jason?
I would like to say something if I could.
There's 2 here?
Yeah, Luann.
And Luann? Okay, may I ask, if the pleasure of the board, may I ask them how it would affect them?
Oh, ask away.
Luann, could I ask you to stand and ask how that would affect you?
Say your name again.
Actually, it doesn't affect our function facility because we do our last calls at 11:15 and close at midnight. We don't take advantage of the extended business hours.
Okay, you don't. Jason, may I ask you to stand and ask how that would affect you, please? And I know that you're on the agenda.
Yeah, well, you know, I don't remember when exactly it was voted in for the town meal tax, the additional town meal tax. But if I run my numbers for July of last year till June of this year, that figure comes out to over $4,500 going directly to the town, which was, and my understanding, a lot of that was going to the purchase of a new cruiser. Now, if this money is coming directly out of my pocket, going to the purchase of a new cruiser, we don't have police to utilize that cruiser. That seems kind of crazy. But anyways, from 11 o'clock till closing. Now, I go from 11 o'clock because if somebody's going to come into the place at 11 o'clock, they have to be out of there. It's going to last call an hour. They're not going to come to Templeton. They're going to go to Gardner, or they're going to go to Winchester, or they're going to go to Athol. It's an hour. You're not going to come to town. So I'm saying we're going to lose this business from 11 to the rest of the night. That's 41% of my business. From my point of sale, you know, graphics, this all, that's 41% of my business. That's me losing a considerable amount of money, which will probably put me out of business. And that's going to be the town, 41% of their tax, 41% of their $4,500 a year coming from the turtle. Eventually that's going to go down to 0 because I can't stay in business losing 41% of my revenue. If there's police on duty till 3 o'clock, I mean, everybody's out, the door is locked at 2. That's an hour for them to get out of there. And if 2's too much, can we move it to, you know, 1/4 of 2? I mean, we have to go, if we do 1 o'clock, you're going to kill it. You know, and not to mention the fact you're going to lose $4,500 a year to go to the cruiser and the new town dump truck, whatever it was. So, you know, these are the numbers.
All right, thank you. Does the board have any other questions? Okay, I'll entertain. Mike, do you have any questions?
I have no further questions.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to come out of the public hearing.
I'm sorry, could I just ask one question?
Oh, yeah.
Is this indefinitely, or is this just until we get the budget straightened out and you put on another?
Right now, this would be, we don't know when we'll get the budget straightened out.
It would
right?
be until the budget was straightened out and we could hire an officer back.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, thank you. Sorry, Madam Chairman. I appreciate it.
Don't be sorry. So I would entertain a motion to come out of the public hearing.
So moved.
I have a first, do I have a second? We have a first. I'm sorry, thank you. I have a first and a second. Jeff, how do you vote?
Come out of the hearing, yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So we're out of the hearing. Okay, seeing no further, is there no further discussion? I would entertain a motion regarding hours, a reduction in hours, or not, or how do you?
Diane, I move to temporarily amend the current closing sale hour for alcoholic beverages from 2 a.m. to 1 a.m. in order to mitigate potential issues arising from reduced public safety capability. The temporary amendment shall expire when advised by the Public Safety Office that advised on this action.
Okay, I have a first.
Second.
I have a second. Jeff, how do you vote?
It's a tough one.
I know.
I'm just not going to punish private business for fiscal stuff, so I will vote no.
Terry?
Out of respect for the chief, yes, and safety.
Mike?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, thank you all very much. I would like to open the show cause hearing for the Thirsty Turtle. I have a first. I would like to open the hearing.
I make, so moved.
So I have a
Second.
first, and I have a second. Jeff, how do you vote?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Oh, so Chief, you're staying put, so, okay. Okay, hold on, I gotta find all my stuff. Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my stuff together. Okay. So we have Chief Bennett and Mr. Terenzini at the front table. Mike, can you see them?
Yes, I can, thank you.
Okay, if you'd like to open with your statements.
Madam Chairman, my name is Carter Terenzini. For the record, I am the town administrator, and this show cause hearing is held at my request. On 29 May of this year, the town entered into a settlement agreement with Trestle Bridge LLC, doing business as the Thirsty Turtle, resulting from a public hearing process with respect to alleged violations of the liquor law. They agreed that there was evidence sufficient that they would be found, that a finding might well be made against them, and we entered into a series of stipulations. Stipulation number 3 was that the establishment, the Turtle, will immediately designate its lower entry door as an emergency exit. It was clear throughout that record that the intent was that this would be exit only, and that it was not to be used for entry from the rear parking lot into the premises. On condition 4 was that Mr. Arsenault, the owner-manager, will meet and confer with the fire chief and the building commissioner within 30 days of the execution of this agreement to determine if the emergency exit can be alarmed, such that establishment staff will be notified upon the opening of the door. The intent of the board here was that if the door was propped open, kept open, put in a condition which would allow entry, that there would be an alarm going off. There was not a requirement in Section 4 that such an alarm be installed. only that the owner consult with the fire chief and the building commissioner to determine the viability of this. That requirement would have ended 29 June. In early July, I came to learn that no such meetings had been held upon a statement to me by the fire chief, and I provided an extended opportunity to Mr. Arsenault before coming to this board to meet with both the fire chief and the building commissioner. As of last week, the statement to me from the Development Services Office, I believe as most recently as last Wednesday, in requesting this show cause hearing, was that no such meeting had been held with the building commissioner. If that remains true as of this day, then Mr. Arsenault is in violation of Section 4. With respect to Section 3, I did speak to the chief some 10 days ago, 7 days ago, and asked him to confirm the state of that emergency exit door, which was clearly intended to be exit only, not entry whatsoever, and I would ask the chief to speak to his findings of his and his officers, if I might.
Chief?
We had officers check that door on a weekend. Officer Malnati went and checked it. He went and checked it at 1 o'clock. The door was unlocked. I also went out personally and checked that door at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and the door was unlocked, and there was no visible or audible sound siren that I could hear, alarm. Also, when I examined the inside crash mechanism that was there, crash door, it appeared to be the existing crash door bar. Nothing new installed, just the original crash bar.
So in failing to keep the agreement to meet with both the fire chief and the building commissioner, to failing to take advantage of the extended timeline offered, and in failure to meet the clear intent of this body that the emergency door should be an emergency exit door only, I believe that this is a clear affront to this body after several courtesies have been extended, and ask for you to take action against this license as provided for under the terms of the settlement agreement. I'm happy to answer any questions, but I really do believe that's the best I can offer you here this evening.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Terenzini. Thank you, Chief Bennett. Does this body have any discussion?
If I may, I recall when this incident first came before the Board of Selectmen, I was not on the Board of Selectmen at the time, but I was in attendance on 2 meetings where this was talked about. And as I was a member of the advisory committee, but I was just there as a resident, and I sat in the meeting and listened, and that is the intent. What I got when all was said and done was that door was going to be exit only, locked from the outside. There was discussion about an alarm, but clearly the intent, and the attorney who was sitting here, they were agreeing with it, that it was going to be exit only, and not being able to get into the building from that exit. So, and that's just from perspective as a citizen who was sitting in the audience. That's what was my take from sitting there.
Yes, Mr. Bennett.
That's what I got from that.
You are very clear on that. This board was very clear that that door was to be exit only and not entry, and to not be unlocked. We were very clear about that with Mr. Arsenault and with his attorney, and we took a lot of time with this settlement agreement, and the even the conditions that were given it was all very clear.
He's got his hand up.
Can I please address everything?
It is normal and ordinary that after a presentation by the proponent, in this case myself, any witnesses with the chief, that you then give an opportunity to the license holder to speak before further discussion and coming to any resolution.
Please, Mr. Arsenault. Can you see Mike?
I can, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, first
Could
of all,
you please state your name for the
Jason
record?
Arsenault, 2 Old Railson Road, Ballendale.
Thank you.
First of all, I what the chief and Mr. Terenzini said is I agree with. It's accurate, 100% accurate. If you would give me a minute, I'd like to read something to you that I wrote quite a while ago, and then I never did anything with it because I wanted to wait and see, you know. I just want to read something to you. The decision to lock the back door of the Thirsty Turtle Pub was not thought out and was rushed into action without any consideration towards the safety of the public. I can now understand what this decision accomplishes besides creating an unnecessary risk. The entrance to the parking lot for the Turtle, as well as the 6 other businesses nearby, is a steep hill that people use at all hours for all locations, as well as a way to pass through from Central Street to 202. People do it all the time, whether they're parked, there's only one way to park, so they go around, you know, to turn around or whatever. It's a very busy entrance, and the decision to have the back door locked is going to force people to walk up or down a steep hill into oncoming traffic, which I describe as a blind drive, to get to or from the front door. This is basically like putting a crosswalk down the yellow line of a road. When it's foggy, rainy, or snowing, the danger is only going to increase dramatically. Sometime around when this decision was made, a patron fell trying to walk down the hill. He's an older gentleman in his mid-80s. He was found on the ground bleeding and in pain by another patron. 911 was called. While waiting for the ambulance to arrive, several customers went out to help him. They're on the ground with him, comforting him, and they use their own sweatshirts to keep him warm and try to stop the bleeding. These are the same people that you have decided you want to treat like animals and herd them into certain doors that you deem appropriate. This decision is going to increase the likelihood of this happening over and over again, not to mention the fact that someone is going to get hit by a car. It's just a matter of time. I'm asking the town to reconsider this decision, and by submitting a copy of my objection to this public safety situation, I'm doing my best to make the town aware of this problem and absolving myself or Trestle Bridge LLC from any accountability of injuries resulting from this decision to place pedestrians in harm's way. Like I said, I wrote this a while ago, and I wasn't going to do anything about it. I was just, you know, just give it time, see how everything works out. I want to say about a month ago, I was walking up the hill with a mop bucket, not really paying attention. This car came down the hill, and I nearly got hit. And by nearly got hit, I'm saying the mop bucket went flying. I was, you know, basically my hands on the hood of the car. And it was an old lady, and she said she's sorry, you know, she couldn't see me with the sun and everything coming over the hill. It's a steep hill. So, you know, I told that story to a couple people in the bar, and I heard from a few people that, you know, they've had similar things. It's kind of dangerous. The door was locked at this time, by the way. I locked the door immediately, and I kept it locked until this incident, and I thought about it. I'm like, I'm going to be responsible if somebody gets hurt or run over by a car here. So I unlocked the door, and my intention was to come here and address this with you. Now, there wasn't any meeting since this happened until tonight. I had already planned to come here and talk to you about it, but that's the reason I did it. I'm trying to, you know, in good conscience, I can't have people out there in a dangerous situation going to get run over by a car. I mean, if you don't tell me any different, when I leave here tonight, I'll lock it. But that's, you know, I've addressed my concerns with you guys. That's why I unlocked it, for safety. That's the only reason. As far as not talking with the fire chief, I was under the assumption that they were going to contact me. I never heard from them. Then I received a letter from Carter stating I had until July 31st. I immediately called the fire chief, immediately. I left him a message. He didn't call back for 2 days. I called him again. And I can't remember if he answered the call, or I think I left another message and he called me back. I told him basically what I just told you guys about my concerns about all this. And he advised me to call the chief, the police chief, and to come to this meeting tonight, which, like I said, I already planned to do. I called the chief, I left a message, I didn't get a message call back, but I did address this. I did call the fire chief. I did what the fire chief instructed me to do. I didn't just blow this whole thing off. And like I said, I have no problem locking the door if that's what you think I should do, but in the meantime, until I get to this point where I stated my concerns, I felt like it was a chance I'm taking on getting sued if somebody got injured. So that's why I did it. It wasn't to be disrespect anybody or anything. It was just, you know, in good conscience, I was trying to do what was right for the public. And like I said, if you tell me to lock the door when I leave here, I'll go lock it and it won't get unlocked again. You know, I'm not trying to, you know, disregard the decision or anything. It was an honest, and I feel a good reason to do what I did.
I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Bennett?
So I've got some questions for Mr. Arsenault.
Jeff's on.
Jeff is asking a question, Mike.
Roger that.
Just one quick one, Mike. considering all that was happening, I was just thought that if you thought it was a safety concern with that blacktop, walking up that blacktop hill to get to the sidewalk to go into the front door, and I have been inside your establishment, did you give any consideration to contact the building inspector to have him come out see, my issue here is you're saying things, and I'm not telling you that you're lying to me, but if you had paperwork, if you went to the building commission and said, look, this is what they want me to do, the fire chief, the police chief, the building inspector, this is what you want me to do, this is my concern, help me address this. It gives the impression that you did kind of blow it off, and now, you know, I get your explanation.
No.
And maybe it's worth what you say, but I'm thinking that you didn't take all the steps that a business owner...
No,
I just stood up for the businesses voting against the chief of police, and I just think that you should have taken more steps, so we wouldn't end up here.
Like I said,
Fix it.
Like I said, originally, I locked the door immediately. It was locked for over a month until I had these concerns. And like I said, there was no meetings. There was no way to come here and address it. I talked to the fire chief. I told him this, my story, my concerns. I told him that I had unlocked the door a few days prior, and I told him why. I had planned on coming here tonight regardless of what happened to address this. It just so happens that, you know, there was a hearing against me, but I was planning on being here regardless. I feel like like I said, I couldn't in good conscience know that there's a dangerous situation, wait to come to a meeting and have somebody get run over.
The town hall is open 4 days a week, 5, 6, 7 hours a day. You call somebody, town administrator, the assistant, you could talk to Holly, hey, I need this is my concern. The calls would have came from in this building, they would have got to the people they needed to get, and you could have had a power, and we would have avoided this being here. But we're here, and that's water under the bridge, so I have to deal with what's in front of me.
Yeah, well, I guess, you know, I didn't, you know, like I said, I didn't know, you know, I just thought this was the way, I just figured this is the way I would handle it, you know, and like I said, I couldn't get here, I didn't think to, you know, because I figured the Board of Selectmen gave this to me, I need to talk to them, I didn't think of that, I apologize, but, you know, it is what it is, and like I said, I mean, if you tell me that it doesn't matter, lock the door, as soon as I leave here, I'll lock the door, it'll never get unlocked again, but, you know, I did it for a reason.
Mike?
Okay, Mr. Arsenault, you're a business owner.
Yes.
Okay, you're not a patron that's going to take on some of the responsibilities for the Thirsty Turtle otherwise. You're the business owner, and you're the person that we do business with. Now, the first thing is, that agreement was signed. I've reviewed the agreement as Mr. Terenzini paraphrased it for me constantly, but the agreement was signed. If there was something that you didn't understand within that agreement, then you can't wait to come to an August 14th meeting to address it. Furthermore, if you had an issue with the entrances and exits, whether it's the front door or the back door, you have the obligation to contact any of the applicable people that would have helped you with that concern. If you want to turn your front door into the back door, that's fine. If you're doing that to mitigate safety concerns, and you make your back door the front door, the point of issue with that whole that safety mitigation effort was to make sure that you were monitoring the flow of your customers. So if you need to do a switch around and turn your back door into your front door and vice versa, that's fine. But again, you're a business owner that entered into an agreement with the town to basically take steps necessary to protect your clientele. I don't have any other questions because I think you've satisfied a lot of them, and I have to make you aware of those with the conditions that you signed, and as you told us this evening, you made observations based on the safety yourself, but you did not bring them to us in a timely manner.
Yeah, I did sign it at the time. I didn't realize what the safety implications were going to be. I had 5 minutes to make a decision on that agreement. I didn't have any time to think of what the implications were going to be from that. And like I said, the door was locked immediately. And after watching it for a month and almost getting hit by a car myself and then hearing other stories,
then I realized that it's a safety concern. You know, and, you know, you can say I should have called, or maybe I should have, but I didn't. I mean, I'm here tonight to address it. And I was, like I said, I was gonna be here tonight to address it regardless. And yes, I guess I should have called somebody, but I didn't think of it. I just figured this was the place to address it. So that's my mistake. I mean, is it that big of a mistake where you're gonna put more punishment on me when I'm just trying to do the right thing? I mean, it seems crazy.
In his defense, we didn't meet in July 24th. There was a big gap in our meetings.
There hasn't been a-
Defense, and we're talking about 15 days from July 31st to August 14th.
It is most unfortunate, Mr. Arsenal, but this is a legally binding settlement agreement. And it seems like it was just poo-pooed when I agree with Mr. Bennett that there are many people who work here at Town Hall who are available all the time. Who, the building inspector, Lori Wita is here, Mallory Seaman is here, Holly is here, and all of these people could have been gotten in touch with.
I talked to
And yes, this is serious.
I talked to the fire chief about it when I
Unfortunately, the fire chief isn't here to speak for himself. Mr. Chief Bennett, did Mr. Arsenal call you and you told him to come to tonight's hearing? No.
No, I called and left a message. When I talked to the fire chief, he told me, I told him just like everything I told you tonight, he told me to call the chief and leave and talk to him and to be here tonight, which I said I was already
This is a
planning on.
serious agreement.
I'm aware of that.
And this was just, the last offense was serious. I mean, so you left a message with Chief Bennett and Chief Bennett didn't call you back?
Correct.
That would disappoint me.
Well, I left a message with Chief Bennett. I mean, I know I did. I can find what day it was on my phone here.
Even though we didn't meet in July, we could have had a meeting in July. The chairman could have called a meeting, but at this point, that's neither here nor there. There's a settlement agreement that was signed and it wasn't adhered to. It's a breach of the settlement agreement. Are there any further questions from the
Yes,
board?
who's responsible if someone gets hit on that hill? The town?
That's not the issue in this agreement at this moment.
Luann has her hand up.
We're,
Luann has her hand up.
I understand that. Are there any other questions from the board?
No further questions.
Mr.
I would hope an
Terenzini?
opportunity for a rebuttal at the very end, subject to the board's pleasure.
Rebuttal
Yes,
from
that is my request.
the public?
From me.
Okay, I will do that. Luann, if you could stand for me, please.
Yeah, I just have a question. You keep talking about not meeting in July. Didn't you just sign meeting minutes from July 10th and July 18th?
Yes, we didn't have any other meetings from that.
One more meeting for just 1 week in July you did meet, which meet
Right,
usually every 2 weeks.
but we did meet in July.
anyways. But you did have meetings in July. Okay, I just want to go on record. You did have.
Right, we did have meetings, but not at the end of July. Okay. Mike, do you have any other questions or concerns?
I do not have any questions.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion to, I would like to do rebuttal with Mr. Terenzini, please. Jason, the paperwork that you wrote, would you mind if we could have a copy of that? Holly, could you make copies to be entered into record, please?
Yeah, this copy is just for you. I don't need it.
Do you, okay, thank you so much. Is that the right one?
I have a quick question before Carter begins.
I'm sorry, Mike?
Mike has a question.
I have a question. The paperwork that you just added into the record that was from Mr. Arsenal, was that correspondence that he gave to us, or is it just his personal property?
It's what he read.
Okay,
So since he read it, it's public?
I understand.
Is that okay?
It's fine, I just wanted to understand the context of it. It's not past correspondence with us. It's basically his personal property and that he made it public during this hearing.
Yes.
Okay.
So I asked if I could have it.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes,
For the
Mr.
record, I am Carter Terenzini, the town administrator, and I would like to speak to several points that were raised here. First, you may recall that I was a proponent of finding a middle ground to be supportive of business during the initial series of public hearings. There were several public hearings. The outline for the settlement agreement was reached on April 10, 2019, after considerable discussion between myself, Chief Bennett, Mr. Arsenault, and his counsel. He had benefit of counsel throughout this entire process. With respect to 5 minutes to make a decision, perhaps the timeline was compressed that evening, but the agreement was not executed until 29 May, some 6 weeks later, after counsel that he retained to represent him had made several suggested changes to the agreement, and after this body agreed to a change to Condition 5. This body had originally insisted upon paid doormen, bouncers, checkers, whatever you want to call them, to inspect the licenses. And after Mr. Arsenault spoke with Chief Bennett, there was a provision made for an alternative system that was thought to be as efficient, would provide the same result at a lower cost, and this body accommodated that businessman. So there was a lengthy discussion that led to this, 6 weeks of back and forth between council and numerous changes made to the agreement. So I have to disagree with the idea that somehow this person just kind of got bamboozled into signing an agreement in 5 minutes, and geez, shucks, now I didn't quite know what to do. With respect to I didn't quite know what to do, I figured the Board of Selectmen, he needed to come and talk to you. The interesting thing is that he talks always with Holly to renew his licenses, to check on what's going on. He gets his notice of a show cause hearing under my signature. We are here 38 hours a week, plus some of us, I've become one lately, get a little obsessed with checking our email on nights and on weekends and returning calls without. And Mr. Arsenault said that it is 100% accurate of what we said. 100% accurate. Now, he may have agreed to some of these conditions and come to determine later he didn't think they were such good conditions. Well, you know, meeting with the fire chief and the building, the fire and building commissioner is not an onerous thing for a business person to engage in, especially someone who's represented here earlier tonight on the basis of sales tax receipts, that they're doing $600,000 a year in sales for food, plus alcohol. So this is not some mom and pop stand that you need to give considerable leeway to, knowing they have been represented by counsel. And the bottom line is this: yes, you must protect the interest of the business community, but you give out these liquor licenses knowing that they are a trust between the license holder and the public, and that it is your responsibility to monitor that trust. And this man, in every manner, ignored that trust, ignored this agreement, and took no measures whatsoever at any time to come to any of the officials or this board to say, you know, could we kindly rethink this? Because I have a feeling that this is the kind of board that at least would have given them a lengthy hearing and full consideration. And if I appear peeved, I am plenty peeved. And I urge you to take stern action for violation of this agreement and violation of your trust. And thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Does anybody have any further questions? Mike?
I have no further questions or statements.
I will entertain a motion to come out of the public hearing.
So moved.
So moved.
I have a first. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jeff. So how do you vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So I would like to entertain a motion regarding the action for the Thirsty Turtle Pub, regarding the settlement agreement and the violation.
Diane, I got one for you. I move to suspend the active restaurant liquor license for the Trestle Bridge LLC, AKA the Thirsty Turtle, for a period of 7 days for the purpose of violation of the settlement agreement of 29 May 2019. The suspension shall commence on 22 August and end on 29 August, or a similar time frame within the next 30 days. Said time period is to be extended until such time as the violations are corrected by the proprietor. Any extensions may not exceed the 31 December 2019 license expiration. The purpose of this suspension is to allow time for the proprietor to comply with the 29 May settlement provision. Further, if the proprietor shall notify the select board that it has appealed this decision to the ABCC within 5 business days of this vote, the time period of the suspension shall be held in abeyance or put on hold until such time as the ABCC renders its decision, at which time the town administrator shall impose the 7-day suspension decided by the board or such lesser suspension as determined by the ABCC. Full stop.
Okay, did everyone hear that? I have a first.
I'll read it again.
Jason, can you come closer?
If there's any questions.
No, is that his motion?
No. Yeah, that's his motion.
That's the motion, that's mine.
That's his motion? Would you like to read this?
Looks like he wants me to read it again.
I think we...
I just read it.
There may be some changes.
Oh, okay, so we shut that off. There may be some changes
I
to
would let
that.
him read it again.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Mike, he's in front of you.
I move to suspend the active restaurant liquor license for the Trestle Bridge LLC, AKA the Thirsty Turtle, for a period of 7 days for the purpose of violations of the settlement agreement of 29 May 2019. The suspension shall commence on 22 August and end on 29 August, or a similar time frame within the next 30 days. Said time period is to be extended until such time as the violations are corrected by the proprietor. Any extensions may not exceed the 31 December 2019 license expiration. The purpose of this suspension is to allow time for the proprietor to comply with the 29 May settlement provision. Further, if the proprietor shall notify the select board that it has appealed this decision to the ABCC within 5 business days of this vote, the time period of the suspension shall be held in abeyance. That means to put it on hold until such time as the ABCC renders its decision, at which time the town administrator shall impose the 7-day suspension decided by the board or such lesser suspension as determined by the ABCC, period.
Okay, so I have a first. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a first and a second. Excuse me. Jeff, how do you vote?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Okay, let me move this down. No. Okay, so the next item is 5F on the agenda, the presentation of the Development Services Quarterly Report.
Hello.
Hello, Lori, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
It's nice to see you.
Approve the report. Thank you very much for emailing that to me.
No problem, thank you. So I'm going to just start right in. In the last fourth quarter, we did get the RFP out for the energy audits for green communities, and we went with energy conservation, which was the only bidder.
Oh, it's here. Okay.
That will be paid for through a grant through the Municipal Energy Technical Assistance. As you know, Templeton Elementary School, very near completion. In the last quarter, the plumbing inspector signed off on all the plumbing over there. The wiring inspector and the building inspector were up to date on their inspections, and I had the opportunity to look at the kitchen facilities. Quite beautiful. Same with the police station. All inspections were up to date. Our inspectors have been very, very busy with the school and the police station. The Council on Aging had their occupancy permit issued by the building commissioner after inspecting the work that was done there. And just to give you a recap, and it's a quick one, building commissioner issued 5 permits for new single-family construction. There were 21 other permits issued, renos, pools, sheds, things like that. There were 5 plumbing, 10 wiring, and 1 new commercial build, which you can see right down the street. The Ag Commission actually helped a little bit with the Templeton Farmers Market, but I'm sure you'll hear more about that from our Community Services Director. ZBA had 1 request to place a shed outside the 15-foot setback. The hearing wasn't scheduled until July, so you'll hear about that in the next quarterly meeting. Planning had approved a plan for Bunny's Ice Cream. They looked at Valley View Farm for a pavilion with gravel parking area, and Gardner Airport had an addendum to their stormwater plan. All of that is still in process, other than Bunny's, as you can probably see down the street. Conservation, just to recap, they actually did 8 site walks for all the building that's going on and had 5 certificates of compliance issued. They did have a notice of intent that was processed for both Hubbardston Road Lot 1 and Lot 3 on the Branch Street extension. Those were for wetlands. Board of Health, we have 2 more houses now that are in process for the Abandoned Housing Initiative over on Shore Drive and Sawyer Street. Compliance for 17 Gray Road was issued, so that's a house that's going to go back on the market now. It was totally gutted and redone, and that's part of the receivership program. We had 3 housing complaints that we responded to, 7 trash complaints. I attended a training for mobile food units. I feel that's going to be something in our future that we're going to see more of here in Templeton. I renewed my Title V for inspecting septic tanks, being able to read documents. And we reviewed and approved 6 septic plans, saw 6 perks, issued 6 well permits, and had 13 Title Vs that came through, so a lot of house sales going on, and 4 food inspections.
Could you give me, if the board, at your pleasure, could you talk a little bit more about the abandoned housing issue and overall how that's going? I mean, we see like the bits and pieces, but overall, how has that gone? I have a lot of people who ask me about that.
I think it's an excellent program. It facilitates us getting abandoned houses, the banks that own them, moving. If they don't move, the Attorney General's office helps us go to court. We don't have costs, and they give it to what's called a receiver. Once it's in their hands, they process the house, they do the needed fixes to bring it up to sanitary code, and if the bank doesn't pay for what's been done, that person actually gets to auction the house to recoup their...
How many houses have you moved? Do you know?
13.
Okay.
Several.
And have they actually gone to the Attorney General, or has it actually gotten to that point? Okay.
Yes. Just as an example, there's one on Schoolhouse Road, there's 2 on Patriots Road, Gray Road, and the rest have been brought up to sanitary code, so some of them still sit, but the banks have to move.
Okay. All right, thank you. Do you have any questions for Lori?
Yes. I'd just like to say, with regards to that certain subject, I've asked Lori, I've run into her on the street and stuff. She's done properties and gotten them moving. It's not a cost to the town. Regarding the burned out buildings, people ask about, why don't you take them? And there's not always a plus side to the town taking those. And if you could just, a couple minutes on that, because
Sure.
People think the old taxes on a burned out bill, why don't we take it down, why don't we do this?
Right, and we can't.
There's so much involved with a property like a burned out house. I'm doing a little research on it. I have inquiries out there. You have to have an asbestos survey. You have to have it tested for several things. That cost, you think about demolition after it's been surveyed, you're talking probably upwards of $15,000 to $25,000 to demo a house. They already owe taxes, sewer, lights, water. It's a long list.
I mean, what do you do about the fact that we don't even own that property and that people still do?
We try to make contact. We're in the process now. I made contact in July. I had one response. We're trying to get them to properly board or reboard. Some of them have sat for a long time. Bring them up so that they're safe, no entry. There's not a lot we can do.
Okay.
But
We're working on
contrary to
it.
maybe public perception, you are working.
We are.
You're doing you're putting a lot of effort into it. It's just, it's not always as easy as it may seem.
Right. I did have the Attorney General's office review all 3 of the burned out houses. They can't take them. It's not something they can do. And we don't necessarily meet the criteria for some of the grants that are out there.
That's too bad.
Yeah, it's tough.
Lori, I don't know if you were here for the first part of the meeting. So Mr. Drury had a lot of similar types of complaints, trash, Board of Health.
Yeah, I wrote them down.
Issues. I'm interested, Steve's been to a lot of our meetings. He's certainly at town meetings, he's quite, he's not afraid to voice his opinion or share subjects. So I took some notes from what he had to offer.
Me too.
Not so much on the Chinese schools or what to do with our debt, but certainly the issue that he's having, although those are great points that he makes, I really like to try and get an answer for him on what is within the realm of possibility. Now, I know that there's going to be the other side. There's always another side or the backstory to it. I'm sure it's quite large, and and here I am jumping into it. But certainly, with some of the things that you have brought up in your report, I'd love to be able to give him the benefit of trying to figure out a problem that he's having within his immediate area.
Right.
That's all.
It is actually a really complicated situation over there, and it is difficult, and unfortunately, it's family, and what's happening, and there's no excuse for the situation that's over there, and as you may know, we are currently in litigation for that property. You try and do a surprise inspection, it doesn't happen, you're stopped immediately. It's hard for me to prove that somebody's living there. They provide documentation that they're not living there. So it's a give and take, and Carter has been working with me on it.
Okay, yeah, I thought as much. I just wanted to be able to say, within at least the same meeting that he brought it up, that, we are paying attention. It's, like I thought, probably has a huge backstory.
It is huge.
Okay.
It is too bad.
It is.
As a resident, what Terry brought up about people living in fear, and that's really not fair.
Right, I agree.
For residents to live that way. That's just, and although we're working on it, that's just a shame.
Right.
No one should have to live that way.
I agree.
And as a resident, more stuff is added. My husband didn't want to tell me the other day, but another trailer came down the road, stored there, and nobody's doing anything.
Because they can't, their hands are tied is what you're saying,
Right.
Lori, right?
On some things, yes. It's been a very difficult,
You know, and to go full circle, even if they weren't living there, what is the rule to having a vacant lot with trailers on it, being taxed as a vacant lot? I don't know if Luann can comment on that, as, I'm speaking as a resident, not as a Board of Selectmen, but is, you know.
Well, right now, this issue is being addressed as a Board of Selectmen because Mr. Drury came before us and asked us as a board to try to come to some kind of, like, conclusion. Like, he said that he could go to court, but we're already pursuing legal action. Is that correct, or am I incorrect?
we are being, right,
We are being sued.
correct.
So there's really, okay.
Some conclusion has to happen.
Do we know when that conclusion might come?
I do not.
Okay, so.
It's been
And
very,
there's some
very
stuff that we can't
lengthy.
discuss in public.
Correct.
So I apologize to the public, but there's some stuff that we can't say to you. Okay. So is there any part that Luann can answer, or no?
I
Probably not.
honestly don't know.
Luann,
But we
is there
do
any part of
continue.
that question that can be answered, or no?
Personal property on a vacant lot is not taxable, is it, right?
Oh, so a trailer is considered chattel, is that correct?
Yeah, and I mean,
Okay.
sort of climbing under them and trying to get numbers and see if they're registered, and I could do that all over town. It would
Okay.
take me days to do everybody, so I mean.
Right, so you
it's
really
not
can't.
The dynamic of that my board can pursue, no.
Okay, thank you. Does that answer your question, Terry?
Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
One quick thing. New construction and stuff going on. How has, when the town accepted the stretch energy code and we're a green community, how is that being accepted, received? Has there been anything
There
or
hasn't
just
been
not really noticed?
No, because most of them were already practicing it in other cities and towns, so it was a very smooth transition.
That's good to know, because
Yeah.
there was one of those
No
things.
complaints.
Yeah. Thank you, Lord.
You're welcome.
It's nice that we knew a lot about it already, and that it was already being applied and even in some of our buildings.
Yes.
A lot of my clients knew about it, and a lot of the builders that I talked to already knew about it.
Right.
Can I ask one more question?
Of course.
I'm not sure if you can answer it, but there's been a lot of questions asked about, is the new school green?
I would say it's very green.
Yes, we had to
It's
comply
top-
with
right.
LEEDs, which is like a lot of the energy efficient and lighting, and it's also with regard to, you're gonna have to forgive me because I can't speak to all of this, like the cooling of the school, and like the windows had to comply with a certain, in order for us to raise how much reimbursement we were getting. Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, I know you came to a lot of the meetings, like we're getting more reimbursement because we're meeting a lot of the energy efficiencies, so instead of like 59%, we're getting 63 point dot something, I can't remember the exact
Whatever
number.
the net percentage, it's
more.
boosted a little bit.
Because we're meeting
Not quite
energy
the
codes.
60%, but it's,
Right.
but it adds up.
Right, so we are,
All of it adds up.
we are,
Thank you, I'm sure a lot of people would be glad to hear that.
yeah. So we're getting more of a reimbursement because we are energy, we're doing energy savings.
All set.
Thank you so much.
Great job.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the presentation of the Finance Quarterly Report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we leave one for Mike in his box?
Yes, it's there.
I'll just Okay, Mike, I'll put it in your box.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so just want to hit a couple of highlights, just so you, because there's a lot here for you guys to look through. I'd encourage you to look through that and get back with any questions you'd have. But we're just going to talk about a couple high points, just so that you can bring things to the public's attention. The year end for fiscal 19 is totally, completely closed. Everything is processed, so for the fourth quarter, we're good to go. On the expenditures, there's nothing really that stands out at the end of the year other than, we weren't in deficit in any area. There have been some requests from the DOR to change some of our funds and how things are operating with the stabilizations plus the OPEBs. I've had them grouped, like the sewer department has their own stabilization and OPEB, and I've had those in that fund to identify that all of that was the sewer. Well, they want them to have their own funds. So you'll see all of that in the reports as you go through as to do accounts and those items. And so that's really basically the stuff on the expenditures to look at. There's 3 things on the revenues that were just outstanding. Our tax title this year, Cheryl was able to collect with, really making an effort on contacting the people that were in tax title. There were several that didn't even know it. So she's really done a good job this year, and she collected $240,000 in old taxes. So she is to be applauded for that. Yeah. The building is booming in town, which Lori just talked about. We collected $100,000 in building permits. We were very fortunate. Part of our year-end closing now is to contact the findmassmoney.com, and Templeton had $67,000 sitting out there on the books, so we were able to recoup that money, and now we have that in our general fund. But really, I mean, it's
$67,000?
$67,000, yeah.
Fantastic. Nice
Yeah.
job.
So that's now part of our year-end closing every year to make sure that nothing else, surfaces during the year, and closing of companies and things like that. Other than that, pretty much everything is good. Our total general fund revenue was 103% of our budget, so we collected 3% more than what we had budgeted for. So we had a really good year. So that's pretty much it for the accountant side.
Thank you.
Luann?
Okay, so you have my report in front of you. Tax bills did go out from April 1st through May 1st with us in the collector treasurer's office. So once that's done, we kind of kick into high gear with building permits. We go out, start getting our new growth, start checking on everything.
Oh, thank you so much.
It didn't work. It didn't work.
He disappeared?
Yeah. The battery. I think you can still hear us.
Can you still hear us, Mike? You can't see us, probably.
No, but I wasn't going to interrupt your report to reconnect. I would have just waited for a natural pause.
Okay.
Mike, I'm sorry, my battery died.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, everyone.
That's okay.
Working great. Future, if we have to do that again.
Well, at least we know that we can accomplish that.
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt your report.
That's okay. Yeah, so like I say, we're into going out and getting our building permits done. And even though fiscal 20 is a revaluation year for the town, we kick into full gear end of March, beginning April. I had the state come in and talk to me, gave me my guidelines. I've hired my Vision, which is my real estate and personal property. They've come in to start doing their work. I hired a private contractor to start in March, going out and doing all our personal property, which he kicked in April. So we're very busy in our office as far as a revaluation year. They're due to come back, that's next quarter, so I'll fill you in on that all going on, but they were ground running through April, May, and June. Also, we're trying to be proactive and get what is for new people, revaluation, if you're wondering what I'm talking, in case it sounds foreign to you, revaluation is something that we're required by the state every 5 years to go out and check all our properties. Every year, I do interim adjustments, which changes the values on people's houses depending on the sales. The analysis is sent to the state, they review it, and that goes through. And I do that every interim year. But every 5 years, the state actually comes in, they go out and visit several properties in town, they check to make sure everything I'm coding is how I'm supposed to be coding, and so isn't my Vision Real Estate program doing the same thing. So it's a three-way check between my hired company that does the work for the town, the state, and our office itself. So a revaluation, like I said, is a fiscal '20. We'll be pretty much done with all the work for our revaluation October, so it won't delay in the tax rate or anything getting set in our office. We're ready to go as soon as they're ready to go. Which brings me to fiscal '19, they closed out the books. All the reports that had to be submitted to the state through the Gateway program has been submitted from our office, so we're all cleared and they've been approved. So our next big step is the balance sheet, the recap sheet. So our three offices all get together and we start working towards all of that. Other than that, motor vehicles, we've gotten commitments every other month. I've committed 2 more since the last quarter, so that's gone out. That's more money coming into the town. We've also picked up 3 new chapter land applications and approved them. So, I mean, chapter land's good in one sense that you're preserving what farmland or recreational land we have in town, and people get a tax incentive break if they're guaranteed to put their money into these chapter lands. Also, they do put them into forestry plans, which is a 10-year plan, which is approved through the state, and they're required to file new forestry plans every year. So as of June, we picked up 3 more forestry lands in town. So it does save some of the raw land in town, which is good. You know, we do have a lot of development, like Lori said. I've got over 25 building permits for new construction right now. That's not including everything else that's coming through the office. So very busy between all of our departments. Also, March, April, May brought me a lot of classes I took with my workshops with the state, with Vision, with Vadar, and the last week of June I also took my MAO conference class for the week at the Cape. So that's helped me with all my credits for my reaccreditation, which is until 2021, but I've got all of but 1 more point to get for that accreditation. So I kind of want to get that out of the way too. I don't like to keep things there. Other than that, I mean, it's been busy, it's crazy, and like I say, we're doing a revaluation. Oh, the only other thing I wanted to tell you was we're also doing part of our cyclical inspections, which that is required by the state every 9 years. We literally have to go out and visit over 4,200 properties in town and look at the houses, take pictures, talk to homeowners if we can. And a couple of years ago, when we went through the big plunge with our budgets and everything like that, was real hard, and we only had to do it all within 2 years. So this year we're trying to be proactive and do it. It's not due till 2025, and at that point, me and my board of assessors went out and did all the work and kept it in-house to save the town money during the budget crunch. This time we were fortunate that Brian, and I'm sure you've all met him, Brian O'Sullivan, we were able to pick him up, and he, as of today, finished all of Baldwinville Center. So, not Baldwinville Center, Baldwinville Precinct. So that's already a quarter of my town's being done. So it was a big plus to us. Wow. And he leaves for school in a couple weeks, and I told him if he wants to come back, you know, I've trained him and he does it good. He's very thorough, and hopefully he's planning on coming back again in his breaks in the summertime too. So I much appreciated what he did for us and for the town. And the kudos goes out to him. It's really helped our office out.
That's wonderful.
So, other than that, that's about all I got. If you got any questions, you know where I am. Stop by, come and see me, ask if you have anything.
What do you mean?
I know.
I'm taking the basic Assessors 101 course offline. The elected assessors have to take it to stay in their thing. I wouldn't want your job for nothing.
It's a great course to take.
It's interesting, but
you see what we do on, I mean, yeah, because you see what we do on our side. And Cheryl, actually, the collector treasurer, is looking to take the same course. So it is, it's a nice class to take.
It's interesting to learn some of the basic stuff, but.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. You're safe.
So I'll cross you off the list of anybody I need to take my place.
No threat at all.
And I just have a couple things for Cheryl's report. She's actually at the school this week for the treasurer collectors. For the first time, we have all of our tax title properties have all been transferred to tax title. We are up to date.
Wow.
Since I've been here, it's the first time we've been on track and doing it every year like we're supposed to. So she had advertised 41 properties for this year that had not paid their taxes, and she only had to transfer 30 because 11 of them actually came in and paid, which, we've not had that much success, so that was really good. She sent out 8,200 bills for the excise, and only 900 got sent to the deputy. Everyone else paid. But still 900, that's quite a few bills that are not paid, so, but those trickle in as the years progress. And the only other thing is, just that there's been a lot of traffic coming in, and that all the demand notices for the FY19 properties that were unpaid have all been sent out. So we're in the process for transferring the FY19s this fall. As soon as, all of the guidelines that we have to go by, we can get those moved and be up to date. So, which I'm sure the auditors will be thrilled to see.
I commend you all. Thank you so much. You do a lot of work. $240,000, that's amazing.
Yeah, she did a
Please thank
fabulous
Cheryl.
job. I will.
Jeff, I hear you sighing over there. Why are you sighing, Jeff?
I'm tired. No, it's just, it's good to see.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Okay, the next item on the list is the Community Services Quarterly Report. Hello, Jackie.
Thank you, ma'am.
Miss Bond, how are you this evening?
Good, how are you?
Mike, I'll put yours in your box.
Mike?
Yes, please, thank you. Yep.
Oh, I just wanted to make sure you were there. Did you fall asleep?
We can't see what you're doing now.
I couldn't see him anyway.
So for community services, we had our final 2 farmers market planning meetings. Lori was able to attend one, answer some questions regarding permitting. The market debuted the beginning of June. We started with a small group of vendors. We're up to a small, medium group of vendors, many enthusiastic visitors. It's really there's been a lot of buzz about it. The vendors are thrilled. I can just see it growing.
I have to interrupt you. Everybody I hear from the public they say it's fabulous.
It really is.
Just fabulous. They're so my parents are like, I'm going down to the farmers market. It's like this Thursday event now in their house.
It's heartwarming.
It's fabulous.
It's great.
It's fabulous.
We've had a couple musical performers. We hope to have a few more.
Oh, my God.
In September. So, yeah, I'm thrilled with it.
So I just wanted to share that with you.
I do
how
want to
excited
shout out
people get.
to Molly Payne has been huge. She's been helping. She got all the signs made and donated. She pops in every week. She, is always asking me what she can do to help. So
that's great.
Molly's been great. So Holly and I were involved in some meetings with the Newtown website. We met with some of the staff, some of the nonprofits for the community calendar part of it. Steve Castle and I organized a candidates forum. Terry and Jeff were at that, so that was
Mike,
great.
too.
And Mike, sorry, yep. And I can't remember, Dennis Rich?
Yeah, and
Lori
Lori.
Matson. So that was great. Scott Dill and I met with the board members at the Templeton Fish and Gun to sort of iron out any issues with the swim program from last year and set some plans forward to have a smooth program this year. And it was pretty smooth, right? It was
amazing.
Okay.
I think it was, last year there were a lot of people on the beach. This year there was just us.
Really?
Seriously.
Yeah.
There were people that, there's a woman there that comes and she wasn't coming unless we were there now because she didn't want to come alone, be on the beach alone. So it was really problem-free.
Right, good. And I feel like it helped us have a better relationship with that board, for
Yeah.
Scott and I to go over there and talk to them
I
ahead
really
of time.
appreciated it, yeah.
Yeah. On the library side of things, Sean and I went to the Mass Access Conference. I went in Steve's place, and I'm learning a lot. On the library side of things, we got Karen Johnson and I spruced up the flower garden with some donations. The Girl Scouts helped as well. We started off our summer activities with school ending so early. We were kind of thinking we wouldn't see a lot of kids until July, but they were right there at the end of June. So that's been a lot of fun. On to the senior services, unless you have any library or community service questions. Sue couldn't be here tonight to...
No, I've just heard wonderful things.
Great.
Exciting, kids exciting, and I read the weekly report, and you always sound so excited. Everybody sounds so excited. Just, it's nice to read.
Yeah, we love our
I love the
jobs.
weekly report.
Yeah. So senior services, the fourth quarter saw the completion of the siding, the occupancy permit, as Lori mentioned. There was an open house with some artwork from Narragansett. A group of their volunteers made May baskets and Easter baskets. They had a couple of different programs for seniors, a health fair, and a talk by an attorney about taking care of your financial future. They had a singer at their Twilight Lounge, and they added restorative yoga to their calendar. So a lot of good things going on over there. Sue couldn't make it tonight, but I'm sure if you have any questions, you can forward them to her. And I've been over there quite a bit as well in the last few weeks. Steve had to go over to the Kiva, but he reports that TCTV has hired 2 media assistants to help with production. They're doing really well. One of them has been working regularly at the center he created at the library, and she's jumping all over it. I think Steve's really pleased with her work. Some of the programming he did in this quarter, that he produced in this quarter were the Declaration of Independence reading, Mac and Cheese, Cabin Fever collector's show took place in this quarter. And he listed some of his goals too, which I think is interesting to read. He's got some big plans for starting live streaming of some meetings and continuing to explore bringing money in as the franchise fees potentially dry up. So he's got some good ideas there. So, and again, I'm sure he'll be available to talk about his business plan if you are interested.
Okay, great.
Next up is Sheila.
Hello, Sheila.
Hi, how are you?
Nice to see you.
You as well. So my quarterly report for Veteran Services, I took a 32-hour mediation class, so I now have a certificate in mediation, and I completed that by taking an ethics class in May. That was all free, given as a veterans mediation class, so it was on Fridays. So I also attended what is now called the Intimate Partner Violence training. It was given by the VA and other organizations that got together. And I also went to training for the Mission Act, which is new for the VA. So a lot of changes happening there. I also attended training at the for the VSO Association, which was 3 days down on the Cape, and that just solidified a bunch of opportunities there. We had VA, we had the Department of Veteran Services come in and give us a presentation and such. So a lot of training. It's the more I think I know, the more things I'm finding out. So there's so much to know for veterans. Plus I've done numerous networking opportunities. I started going to Healing Waters, which is fly fishing. So I actually tied my first fly ever.
Nice.
I want to let you know. And I caught my first fish.
Oh,
So
congratulations.
Yes. That should be in my next report, right?
Rainbow
I
trout?
realized why I don't fish, because when he said, hey, why don't you take it out, I realized I don't want to touch that thing. So my husband was nice enough to buy me gloves. I also we did a groundbreaking, we went in front of you in June for the Veterans Park. I talked to Jeff a little bit about, we have a brick campaign. The forms are hanging on my door. They're at the library as well as the Legion. For anybody who's interested in purchasing a brick, which will be pavers around the monument. The monument is arriving in about 3 weeks. We have flagpoles that are supposed to be picked up for Friday, and we need to put the footing in for the monument. So right now I got about $20,000 worth of stuff that is coming in for the park. We are like up and going with all of that. We unfortunately, something has come up. I've talked to Carter about it, a few other people know about it. And so we're at a standstill, so I've had to put everything on hold. We're still getting the monument, we're still getting all that stuff. I can't stop that stuff, but we put the fencing, the paving. I have somebody who's actually donating plants to do the front. I'm supposed to meet with them tomorrow. I'm going to have to postpone this. I have the bricks for the wall, the retaining walls are on hold, as well as mulch and loam, which we have all set up. We just need to give them a call. We put the paving off. It was supposed to be done 2 weeks ago. We put it off because of this issue. Carter, I'm going to ask you, do you want me to give them specifics of what's going on, or do you want me to? I know it's kind of late.
So I just go ahead and rip.
You're going to have to do it. The public's going to ask.
Okay, here we go. So there's been a complaint that there was contamination at 4 Elm Street. So I put the stop at putting anything up. If you go over there, I did call Dig Safe for piping. The monument is marked off as well, but until we come to this, and the person is looking for documentation from the town to saying that it is free and clear of any contaminants. So I would suggest that we kind of take an aggressive approach, but allow us to maintain control of what's going on there, that we look up and do our due diligence, looking at the DEP, and going there and seeing if we find anything. I have done a lot of research on it. I find stuff about the asbestos that was removed in 2015, but I don't find anything prior to that. I've been looking for records in the town, again, limited to what we can find. So I suggest that we take care of that, and I found out that it was used as a DPW garage at one point, so I think it would be good. So my thing is that I think for the Veterans Park, I came up with 4 options, courses of action. I know this is kind of aggressive. I'm getting that monument in 3 weeks, and that footing has to go in prior to. So what I'd like to suggest is that we find another location for the park to go in. I can work with the CPC and the Conservation Committee to see if they're willing to maybe give us some funding for that location, so that I can continue along with the park as the stuff comes in, and just our footprint is of such that we can easily modify it to fit whatever parcel of land we have. I worked with the assessors to identify 3 parcels of land. I went out with Michael Uverard, who's on the Veterans Advisory Board, to just quickly look over the land. 19 Central is between the Thirsty Turtle and a garage, and it has a big slope, and it abuts the river, but it doesn't look like there's a lot of area that you could actually put a park, or that people would actually be able to see a good view from the ground, and we'd have to clear it. Say again?
Yes, Mike?
No, Diane, I'd like to make a recommendation. I mean, we're within her report, and I am aware of some of the other things, but in terms of giving a pitch or otherwise, I would say let's do this as a agenda item for
Yeah.
a future meeting.
Okay.
So that we can have a little.
Yeah,
bit
we
more
can't go through the whole
action.
thing.
And
So I need a storage area.
Sheila's gonna need some help with discovery. I definitely like the fact that she's coming up with courses of action and that she's keeping Carter aware of what's going on. But I don't want to go into a presentation on alternatives for the Veterans Park inside the report.
Can we add this to the next agenda?
I don't think there's a problem with that at all. I just don't want to go into it tonight because we just don't have the right, it's good to talk through it, but as far
That
as
would
the
be-
presentation thing, I'd like to
Right.
be able to have a little bit more fidelity to it rather than just, hey, this is what I'm working on.
That would be August 28th?
So I need to, Mike, not to, thank you for saying that, but I'm starting to receive stuff, like on Friday. I need a place for storage, I need a place to put the monument, and I need something to tell these people who are currently, have been on hold for 2 to 3 weeks.
Bob Sosik is raising his hand.
Sheila, I know the police department had a container at the Baldwinville Fire Station. I believe they were renting it, and I believe it's empty for one. Maybe we can continue that for your use. And I do have at the highway barn probably an older container, probably half available. I got a little space and some open sheds. I don't know if they need to be out of the weather or what you get. But if you just need ground space, I'll be able to help you out with that as well.
It's going to have to be secured space as well. So as you can imagine, my up-tempo has been ridiculously high. So I can't keep this up because there's too many moving parts. And so I'd like to request somebody to be able to at least take this over because honestly, my meds aren't working. This is ridiculous. It's almost
I think that we
9
have to take this part of the conversation offline with Carter. Carter, with Mr. Terrence, does that make sense?
I didn't realize there were quite this many moving parts, but certainly we'll work with Jackie and Bob and Sheila tomorrow morning if she's available. And let's see what we can do to take some pressure off.
Does that make sense?
Find some secured location or find a way to quickly address. And I don't not think we will ever make the complainant happy on this issue. But perhaps there's a way we can more quickly get to a position where we can at least feel comfortable ourselves, move forward with the current location. I think that's probably the shortest, fastest line through this.
Okay. Does that make sense, Mike?
It does. She's got, as she stated, there's a lot of things going on right now.
Right.
I want to be able to address the things that will provide
So we need to offload
some
some.
relief without going too far down another road. And the only reason I put the brakes on is just the discussion of alternate courses of action or alternate sites is that's a little bit beyond the scope of what we're trying to achieve right now. But I know she needs relief, and there could be some answers in there. She can't do all the research by herself. Certainly, she doesn't have storage. So I think I heard Bob talking about some potential storage locations. That's going to help her out. But yeah, I think we need to put this to the front burner for Sheila's sanity's sake, and then figure out how we can kind of power through some of these other issues, especially with the original planned site.
So can we add, Holly, like an update or more to the August 28th meeting for Sheila to come back, or if Sheila can't come, then Carter can maybe give us an update as to where we sit with this issue for you, and if there's something that we can do to help. Jeff, did you have something?
No, I was just telling Adam he's got another task.
Oh. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm sorry, Sheila. I hope that we can resolve this for you. Did you have anything else to add? You do a great job.
Wasn't that enough?
Yes, that is enough. Ouch. Ouch is right.
Oh, I meant all my training, everything
I
I'm
love that
doing,
part of
The
it.
veterans
Yeah, it's all
luncheon.
very good stuff.
It's all great stuff. Okay. That brings us to the Cultural Council.
Yeah, Cultural Council, Pat Gale couldn't be here. She actually provided a really long list in this report of programs that were funded April through June, and it's amazing, really. They managed to, with their board, which they do have a couple of new applications, which is good, because that board needs to have a quorum. They just managed to fund a whole array of different programs, seniors, kids, community.
2 pages worth.
Yeah, it's amazing.
2 pages worth.
Look at all the singers. Kudos to them. And Scott Dill couldn't be here tonight, but he also submitted a few great things that have happened with Rick. They're utilizing the Unipay system now for participants to sign up and pay for programs online. There's been some work on the softball fields. The new baseball field project was started, and the basketball court update is in its final planning stages, and that, I believe, already got started in July. So, lots of good things going on with him, too.
Great work, all of you. Thank you.
Thanks.
And the next agenda item is Hardwick Winery 2-day wine license for the Arts and Crafts Festival. Good day.
Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It's nice to see you.
Thank you. Thank you for seeing me.
We're happy to have you here. Okay. I know that you come before us for the Arts and Crafts Festival each year. Is there anything different that you'll be doing this year than you've done in previous years?
No, we're at the same address, doing the same thing.
Okay. Terry, I guess I would ask you if you have any questions. Jeff, do you have any questions of him?
No,
Because they've been doing this for several,
When I was on board back when, it's a great thing.
It is a great thing,
Any
no?
issues and then any problems, it's been pretty much the same thing each year. They go to private residents, they do their thing. It's really good for a small business, and it's been, I've never heard any issues with it in the years you've been
not at all.
Thank you, and we look forward to the invitation and being in Templeton.
We look forward to having you.
And your farmer's market, I know they mentioned the farmer's market. So farmer's markets are allowed to have farm wineries at their markets. I'm not looking for any more markets, but that's something.
Well, that's good to know. I'd be happy to let Jackie know that.
It's a process through MDR, Mass Department of Ag Resources.
So if you're ever thinking about looking into any more farmers markets,
There's a new wine thing in Orange, a fruit wine company in Orange out of Orange.
I'll have Jackie look into that.
Absolutely.
I'll let Jackie know that
Thank
you
you. Nice
talk
touch.
to us about that. Thank you for letting us know that. So I would entertain a motion for the 2-day for Hardwick Vineyards and Winery.
Yep, I move to approve the 2-day wine and malt license for Hardwick Winery as presented.
Second.
I have a first, I have a second. Jeff, how do you vote?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well.
Thank you, John.
Yes, terrific. Thank you, folks.
Thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
back. It's really good.
Yeah, we love it.
Worth for you.
It's absolutely worth it. However, Hardwick Fair runs the same weekend, and I'll always come to Templeton if I'm invited, but Hardwick Fair now allows beer and wine at our fair. So we'll do 2 fairs, but I'll always come back if invited.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, the next item up is the 1-day liquor license for the wedding at Leclerc Farm. Is anyone here for that?
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much.
Mitch Bernard.
Yeah, I have to. Special license sale. So there's actually 2. Everything here is a mess for me. I have stuff put up everywhere. Yeah, I got it. Actually, I think there's 2 pieces. You're Mitchell? You're Mitchell?
Yes.
Okay. And, yep, there's two. There's a common victualer's license, and then there's the one-day wine and malt beverage license. So we've never done this before. Is that accurate, or have we done this before?
Me?
Yes.
I've never applied for a license, no.
Okay.
Have you ever been married?
So this is brand new for you. Well,
Yes.
Welcome to the neighborhood. So Holly, does he have everything that he needs to have?
Yes.
Okay.
They're having at the clerk farm.
So they're doing this at Valley View?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's just a one-day malt, beer, and wine license, and then
What is malt? Oh, okay.
it's just what it's called, beer.
Perfect.
Sorry,
Fancy.
beer, malt, beer. Sorry, you can have malt and beer.
They have everything, they have the insurance certificate in place.
Okay, so there's really, okay. So the description of
I
the,
think that Mitchell may be applying for it, but it looks like it's a separate company that's actually taking care of the actual serving. I can't pronounce it. Looks like Mundial.
Correct.
Okay.
so it'll be served in a tent, roped-in area?
So
Correct.
you
Okay.
satisfied that, thank you.
I have a signed contract if you need it.
And you're having outdoor live entertainment?
Correct.
Okay, that's why it's two separate things. So I will, there's really no reason not to do this. I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve
I move to-
Go ahead, Mike.
I move to approve the one-day wine and malt license and entertainment license for Mitch Bernard at the Leclerc Farm as presented.
I have a first, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Jeff, how do you vote?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes?
Mike?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. You're all set.
Okay, so what's the next step?
So you'll, Holly.
I'll get the license to you. I'll get the license ready, they'll sign it.
Okay.
And I'll just have you come in and you can pay the fee and get your license.
Sure.
I'll probably do that for you, because he works out of town, so
Yeah.
I've been doing everything.
Yeah,
Will it be ready on Monday?
it'll be ready tomorrow.
Okay,
Should be, yeah.
I'll have my fiance pick it up on Monday because we have to come back on Monday to get our marriage license. So we'll get, which office should she get it in?
Right across the hall.
All right.
Number 6.
Okay,
Are you
very good.
late on Mondays?
Yeah, till,
And Holly, I will be
No,
back
see, they're not
on
opening.
Friday.
All right, never mind.
So I will come into the office to make sure I sign anything that I need
I can
to.
mail it.
Well, I have to pay, I have to get my checkbook, so.
We could either leave it in the treasurer collector's office, which is
Oh.
open later,
yeah,
clerk's office.
whoever we get the marriage license
We can
from.
accommodate.
You get that from the town clerk.
Yeah, the town
Let me know
clerk,
when you're
yes.
coming in and we'll figure it out.
Okay, I'll have her give you a call and she can arrange it for
I'll
you.
email you.
Or, yeah.
Okay, great.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Have a happy wedding.
Thank you. Congratulations. Yeah, thank you.
Newlyweds, next time we see you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Best of luck.
Holly, thank you for all your help.
Oh, you're welcome.
Don't worry, I will.
Okay, and the next item on the agenda is the NRSD district meeting and related matters. I would assume that is you,
So
Mr.
there's
Terenzini.
three matters. The most immediate one being, what, if any, amendment do you wish to offer to the district's budget? They will have someone that moves their full budget. If you wish to offer an amendment, I suggest that you have the amount ready and someone at the ready to quickly move for that amendment. The second question follows on that, which can be taken up piecemeal. This board has committed to consulting with the public and the advisory committee as to what budget cuts to make. And the chairman and I did have an opportunity to spend a little time last week kind of working through a bit of a calendar, which we've presented to you here. The third issue is we have received several documents from Phillipston from their special town meeting which speak to school-related matters, none of which ask for a meeting between the two select boards, but which the chair and I discussed might be a good move on this community's part to send them a letter and ask them for a joint meeting, talk with them about those two articles, and other school matters that might be of concern, and other joint matters, and we have suggested a date for that. So those are the three matters that we bring before you under this heading.
Okay.
Do you mind if we go in reverse?
Can I
Turn the phone around.
please turn this phone back because I'm having a hard time hearing you, Mike? Could you just give me a second, please?
Yeah, sure.
He wants to start from the third one first.
A joint meeting with Phillipston?
Yes.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, that's what Mike wanted to.
Mike.
Okay, go ahead, Mike, sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I wanted to, the list that Carter just gave us, I just wanted to take each one of those things, but I wanted to go in reverse, kind of take the easier one before we start talking about the joint town meeting. So, to basically invite some kind of dialogue with the Phillipston Board of Selectmen. At some point, they're going to, we know that they had a special town meeting and they have some articles that had there's some pretty interesting articles that they passed, and I really think that we need to offer to them to say, let's talk about these now. We haven't heard anything, so let's go ahead and do that. So Carter had laid out the dates there, so if those are good with you, how does Carter say it? If there's indication from this board that he can move in a certain direction and offer those invitations.
Okay, I'm sorry, I must be missing something in my packet because I don't...
It's in your weekly report, that section where I...
Of the selectmen's packet.
It's in the weekly report, what did I miss?
I have that section where if I don't think something's a full memo's worth, so this would be the paragraph that relates to the Phillipston joint meeting that I'm...
The workshop of 10-2? Okay. Okay. I'm in favor of that. Wrong weekly report. It was in this week's packet.
Okay.
So come to the workshop of 10-2. No receiving it. Well, he's not asked for a specific meeting. And the district agreement. So 10-2. Well, I'm in favor of the 10-2. I did read that. Sorry, Carter. I just have a lot of words in my head. And I'm tired.
I'd like to make a motion to allow the town administrator to contact the town administrator board of selectmen of Phillipston regarding a workshop meeting on October 2nd, 2019 in a joint session with Templeton Board of Selectmen, Templeton Town Administrator, and our Phillipston counterparts to discuss those special town meeting articles that seem to concern probably both towns. Worth the dialogue.
I will second that motion. Oh, I'm sorry. Should I be doing that?
Yeah, you're fine.
So I have a first and I have a second. Jeff, how do you vote?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well.
All right, so the next thing, basically our schedule with the advisory committee. And this is really how we wind up addressing all of that uncertainty that we could feel from the audience at the end of our special town meeting. This basically addresses it. We're not adopting Will Spring's plan automatically of line by line, we're going to go through everything. However, we wind up having a good dialogue with we come up with, Carter made a presentation to us, we discuss it, We give that plan to the advisory committee, and then, as Carter said, we wind up having a public information session where we wind up getting some feedback, and then we can move forward and say, we've done our due diligence, talk through these things, whether they're needed or not. But it really, puts us on a good timeline for action.
We did a similar thing in 2013, and you can say that you made the effort. You can't force people to show up, but we need to make the effort to give them the opportunity to have their say, if
I
they so
remember
desire.
going to those. I think that's a good idea.
So that you're saying, because you're taking it backwards, you're saying that once we do number 2, we'll have a better idea of what to offer in number 1.
Well, when I say backwards, the first thing
we're just doing
discussion about
we're doing the discussion stuff backwards.
Possible amendment that we're going to do that. I would like to have a more conversation on these. These two other ones, the one that we're talking about now, and the one that Jeff made for the joint meeting with Phillipston, those are a little bit easier. I think that we're all kind of aligned on that. We all
we're just trying to do the easy stuff
what's bringing
first.
us to action where we shut down. Well, not shut down, where we wind up, bad choice of words, where we wind up implementing a plan so that, just as Carter said, it's the gap closing plan.
Right.
And the road to get there. So I'm not prioritizing these things, Terry. Basically taking them as easy, the low-hanging fruit first.
We're just trying to do, make meetings, and then we're going to talk about, so.
He's just kind of like reverse planning.
Yeah.
We'll get these two easy things set.
Out of the way.
We'll agree to meet with the advisory and have a public meeting for when we have to do the cuts, because we don't know how the meeting, district meeting.
I
get that. We get these two settled, and then
now we're going to talk about
the amendment.
We're going to have more discussion on
time. So we get these two things set, and we're done rather quickly with them, and then.
So Carter had put together, let's do a gap closing plan to the BOS on 9/11 and to AC, so we need to have a public informational session and the BOS action on, so, that's why, since he had already put dates in here, that's why Jeff had made a motion for 10/2, and then, I don't know if Jeff's gonna make another motion? Did I just say that out loud? I apologize. So we're trying to figure out dates, like when are we going to get together with the advisory committee? When are we going to get together with the public? When are we going to get together with, because we did promise the public that we would have a session with them.
Okay.
I will say, if I might, Madam Chairman, this does assume we have a school budget by the end of August.
Right.
Because until this body knows what that number, if any, is, it's really fruitless to keep, kind of flailing this thing in possibilities. So I would just ask you to keep that in mind. These dates have been put forth based on that assumption.
It's easier to set this up now. We can always, if we have to move it or cancel it, it's easier to do it that way. We set it up now. If we go to the joint meeting and we come out of there with no decision or a smaller bit, we'll know where we stand. And if we need to go forward, we'll have everything in place. If there's no need to, or if we have to change it, push it forward, we'll have a starting point. But it's easier just to get this in place now. It's like scheduling a public meeting. You can schedule it, you have 48 hours. And if you have to cancel it at the last minute, you cancel it. But it's harder we'll set it up.
I hear you.
If we use it, we use it. If we don't, then we don't.
Okay.
I don't mean to lecture you, but
no, that's all right. So we're still going to discuss the budget anyway?
Yes, oh, yeah.
Okay.
So we're just doing
going forward, we'll get that out of the way.
The easy, quick stuff out of the way.
So, Carter, do you want a motion for those dates, or do you just need the strong indication that that's where the select board is?
I think if this is just the consensus of the board, I'm satisfied with
Are we going to have a joint meeting with the advisory committee, or are we going to discuss is that what you're...
Well, the plan is that I would...
you would discuss with us on the 11th?
Which is your formal business meeting.
Right.
make a presentation to you.
Okay.
Which I can invite the advisory committee to, but my plan is to go to them the next night.
Okay.
Make that full presentation.
Okay.
Both bodies would then have, at least the staff suggestions for a one-item workshop of the select board in joint session with the advisory committee on the following
18th.
Wednesday.
Okay.
And then you may narrow that down that night, or you may want some more time. And then, on the 25th of September.
Is when we would take
be
action?
looking for formal action.
Okay.
So that if we need to go beyond what we've done, we can get started. If
Okay.
the number is such that we don't have to make all of these cuts to public safety, at least then we can try to start to fill those vacancies before winter and before it starts to create larger problems.
Okay. So you just want a general consensus? So generally speaking, does the board agree with these dates?
Yep.
If they work, yeah.
So you're saying September 11th, September 12th,
It would go to the advisory committee.
so we would meet on the 11th, on the 12th, it would go to the advisory
No, we wouldn't
committee,
meet.
then we would meet on the 18th with them. So we'd meet, send it to them, then we meet with
We
them.
meet again.
With them, and then you make your decision.
Then we would
So
meet
that
again on the 25th.
It's a 2-week process.
The 18th is a meeting that we wouldn't maybe normally have.
Okay.
That's
So
correct.
all on Wednesdays?
Yeah, they're all on
It's your
Wednesdays.
open Wednesday night. You would
I'm
now be
fine.
putting on your calendars.
I'm fine.
Right.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. Mike, did you say yes?
Yep.
Okay, I'm saying yes too. So how's that, Carter?
It's fine by me. Whatever
Okay.
the
So do we
record
need to
reflects.
make a motion?
No, just a general consensus.
Set that up.
Somebody will have to let Julie know.
Yes, and then that last item that Carter was talking about, we as a board have, we've had some differing opinions on how we can get through this budget process. I think I've been steadfast through this whole thing to try and say, I think this is going to be a compromise situation. I still think that we can achieve that, especially in light of the fact that we're no longer voting on Templeton assessments, but we're voting on a school district budget that is then, chopped up by, formula and calculation. So I'd like to have some discussion about, how, well, a discussion or not, I still want to try and compromise. I still want to be able to say, all right, we're going to make some cuts. School, I want you to make more cuts than what you believe that you've already made. And I know there's been discussion about whether they actually did make cuts, in fact, based on their cherry sheet and otherwise. But I don't want to give them $2.7 million. I want to give them a lower figure than that. What are you, ladies and gentlemen?
I'm disappointed that they're supposed to be working with us, and I'm disappointed that they didn't come forward and offer us a lower number. And, even if it meant them taking the high road for the parents' sake and the district's sake, I'm disappointed in that. I'm just questioning that if we do make a compromise, would taxes go up? Because I'm adamant that taxes are not going up. That's not what we're here for. We're here to keep the taxes down for people.
You're 100% correct, Terry, and that ship sailed months ago. Our tax rate is what the law allows for. There's no override. It's all about the community approving a number, which is, that's bylaw and Mass General law. It has nothing to do with increased revenue. It has everything to do with them being the communities now approving a number that we have to live with. Because right now, revenue does not support what the budgets have asked for. So it has nothing to do with taxation. It has everything to do with allowing us to be able to operate within the money that we have already earned as a community.
So my next question would be the demographics. Say we do offer them, if we do come up, you know, I understand that we want to keep the public safety going. We don't want to lose police officers and fire. I guess I already got my question answered. So if we come up, the cuts will not be as severe and the taxes will not go up. And maybe ask Carter how our budget will sustain going up.
Well, the chairman has stated directly here now, and I believe this board has indicated there will be no second effort at a override. So the taxes will be within the limits of Proposition 2.5. Whatever monies for the school district above and beyond what you had planned will come from cuts. There's no revenues to be raised. There's no application of free cash to be made. It's very straightforward. The trigger line in the second article of the special town meeting was the $6,611,000. That's the point at which we had made an appropriation, the $6,490,000 and change, and we thought we could reduce our contribution to the overlay. So any number that is above that will be a cut in town services, period, end of story. Now, depending upon how deep that cut is, I presented a plan to you in May that was able to make a portion of cuts without getting onto the public safety side of the house. You know, you tell me how much is being cut, and I can tell you...
Our phone just went out.
...how deep you have to go. Did you just lose Mike?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah. How did that happen? All 4 lights are lit up.
Oh, it does it sometimes.
What, it cuts out?
Our electricity goes out in our reports.
It's got to recycle for a minute.
Will he come back on?
We can recess and just take a couple minutes to see if he comes back.
I make a motion that we recess until the phone situation is resolved.
Yeah, Mike needs to be part of this conversation.
Is it coming back out?
It says active PBX. I make a motion recess for 5.
Second.
Look like an idiot, but whatever.
So if I can just recap quickly, I'm not sure where you lost Mike, but the question about taxes, I mean, this board has been clear, no override. Yep. Therefore, any levy to be raised for the school district, you have the $6,490,000 that you'd offered. We have another 100 and change. We can reduce our contribution to the overlay, and that's your safety valve. That's the line at which you do not have to cut any of your line items in your budget. And that is the number that was in Article 2 at your special town meeting. Any assessment to the school district above that $6,611,000 and change requires a cut to your town budget. We presented in late May a series of cuts that did not involve laying off people, impacting public service, any of those kinds of, well, it did at the Council on Aging, but it did not involve any drastic cuts to public safety. The whole what-if story, I can't tell you until I know what the school district comes up with. I can only tell you that $6,611,000 is the point at which you have to make 0 cuts. And then there's another number, about $125,000 higher, where there are cuts that are viable without getting into public safety. Once you go past that number, then we're into the public safety That's a whole series of what-ifs that could just drive you crazy till you know your number.
My only sticking point is the school district, and I really don't want to ask them to cut, to bank, because it looks like we're just, when they did their budget presentation, they did it pre-July 31st, when the governor signed off on the final state budget, which has Chapter 70 and other numbers from DESI that are slightly above what the school committee used when they divvied up the town's assessments. For me, I would just like to see the school present, probably at that district meeting, because I don't think they're going to meet before then, present to that meeting that their spreadsheet, if they have changed their approach to the use of the aid and so forth, then I think we're better off than we think. But if they're going to stick with the pre-July, I think it was June 4th was the last one, if they stick with those, then we're going to be doing some cuts.
So I had posted a tweet from Senator Goby that they actually got 80% reimbursement for transportation, so it went up. So she was proud of the fact that they got that through the bill through. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that, but that's what I said. The school committee based their numbers before that.
Right, and I think that
Only a couple percent.
I know it's only a couple of percent, but it's something, Mike. So I'm still sticking with the fact that.
What we asked her for, and she came through.
And we're still working towards 100%, but she at least got it up to that amount. But I think, for me, I'm still at that $200,000 number, but now we're working with, so let me explain that. Now we're working with the whole budget. We're not just working with Templeton's assessment or Phillipston's assessment. So let me just say that when you're working with the whole school assessment, it's a formula. So when you say, 16,200,000 and we want to reduce it to 16 million, and excuse me for not having numbers in front of me, I'm just hypothesizing here. Yeah. So if you say 16 million, so there'll be Templeton's share and then Phillipston's share, and it becomes a student share formula. So it might not be exactly 200,000. So as much as I'd like to say, I still want to work with that number, because that's the number I would like to work with, because I think that that's the number that doesn't run into our public safety services. And let me say to you, Terry, and it's the same as, I feel the same way that Jeff does, the school committee did their job, and we are trying to do our job. The school committee is not gonna get up on the floor, although they have, and lowered their budget because they got different numbers. It is their job to look out for the kids and the kids only. It is not their job to look out for the town budget. That's not their job. It's not DESI's job to look out for the town budget either. It's their job. They're the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. They do not care about what our budget looks like. Zero. Not a zippo zilch. So they're not going to come and say, you know what I'm saying? So I still want to work with that $200,000 number.
I'm going the other way to say, that's right, the school committee.
So the school committee did their job.
They did.
They did their job.
We're going to do our job, and we're going to protect.
So we need to protect our services right now.
So I want to be able to say.
But I hate the fact that it pits us against them.
I want to give you a lower money because I know what that does to my town budget. If I lower that number, whether it's, we lower, they want 19.7. If we lower that number to 19.5 or 19.4, you're right.
19.4 I think is too much because they have the wind at their back.
It's going to be on our budget.
Right. So you're saying 19.5?
19, I would say between 19.4 and 19.5 I think that basically puts us in the ballpark for a reduction of between $100,000 or $200,000. I don't want them to get $400,000 or $500,000 more than what we say we can afford. Because guess what? That's the money that we have to eat in our budget. And that is going to be disastrous to our operating budget.
See, I think they, based on the meetings that I've been to, you've been to, Jeff has been to, they have the wind at their back. And Desi gave them this year's budget.
Yeah.
And they have no reason to compromise.
Behind us, the wind behind our back is going to be the townspeople who say to them, for good reason, we're going to give you $19.5 million. And then the school committee is going to have to take a hard, long look and actually do some work and thought. You and I went to that meeting when they recertified the budget.
Yeah.
It was unanimous because they didn't have to do anything. They knew how ridiculous it would be to make $400,000 worth of cuts. If we had given them a different number, it would have forced them to really, they wouldn't have had a unanimous vote. They would have said, I think we can do that. Templeton's going to work on their budget and they're going to make some cuts. We're going to have to do the same thing.
Right.
But I want the people to be the wind at our back who are going to come out of this special town meeting to say 19.5, not 19.7.
So you're thinking about 200 as well, the same that we talked about before in the other meetings?
Yeah. We had 2 votes before the special town meeting. The one that did not pass was 6.7 million, and then the other one was the 6.49. Basically,
right. That's $500,000.
To say no, I'm not going to take $400,000 cuts. I'm wondering if our board has more information or has changed its perspective on it, where we are more about compromising with the school to really kind of go out on a limb to say, if we have the people approve a budget that where, yes, we have to make some cuts as a town, but if we also then approve a budget that makes the school committee compromise and cut some out of their budget, I want the people to say, school district, you need to bend a little bit. So I'm thinking around the $200,000. If we could get more out of that, I mean, of course I would want that. That's the less that Carter has to find in our OpEx. I would like it to be around $200,000 because really that's what Carter has been briefing us along this whole process. Is to say, if you can get to that number, it's going to be tough, but I think I can do it.
Thoughts?
So would this be a one-time increase? Would it be a one-time increase, or would we be expected to pay it again next year plus 2.5%?
Every year is different.
You know what, Terry?
Every year is
That's an
different.
Excellent question. We are only trying to get this budget
this year
out of our way to basically say we have now funded ourselves until
next year,
June of 20. We have to have the conversation now.
We're a year ahead.
With them to say, how are we going to get through this next year? Because I don't want to have to do this next year.
Yeah.
I haven't looked into it, but that chapter, what was it, 70, section 6, about a one-time...
I have to respectfully suggest that you need to accept that until such time as you have substantial annual new growth on the order of $400,000+ a year, or this school district finds a way to reinvent itself on a dramatically slimmer budget, or the courts issue something requiring the state to act, or the state comes to this on your own. This is an annual process. I don't believe that there has been, in the last decade, any year in which you did not have some sort of angst over what the school needed and how you were going to need it. They will build on whatever budget they get this year. They will build on that for next year, and they will do their due diligence of what they feel they need to have to educate the kids.
Jeff.
And that's their priority.
Hasn't this been, Jeff, hasn't this been one of the biggest years in a long time? I mean, $1 million. And yes, we're opening a new school, but hasn't this been one of the biggest years?
Yeah, usually it's around 600,000, something like that. Some of the years where we've had a big thing.
I mean, we had $1 million override before, but that was before that was when Dr. Hemmen was, and he got it passed.
Well, the town.
I don't remember what year that was.
But, it's not an override, but they got the levy adjusted by, I think, $1 million before Prop 2.5 took over. And then there's been one big one for the school, and then I think the largest after that was like in the 600,000 neighborhood, something around there. But yeah, this year was the biggest one I recall seeing in over 10 years.
I mean, I think...
Well, this is the second 1/12 we've done, since 13.
Right.
Can I ask
Quabbin is doing it again, and they've done it several times.
So, we've got the transportation piece. We worked on that.
I mean, it's not a lot.
Is the 1/12, from what I read, and Jeff might be able to correct me, was that established in 1993? Is that really an old process that needs to be, and I'm just saying, if we vote no and don't go for a compromise, would we really be sending a message to the state that they need to re-evaluate their formula?
No.
You need to understand that the number will be what the attendees at this district meeting votes. So you can continue to stand on principle, or you can try to find some sort of compromise that while the school committee might not agree, you can at least get the majority of those attending the district meeting to agree. And I think that's what I hear the chairman saying, is I want to have a number, and I don't mean to put words in your mouth, Mike, but what I hear you saying is you want to have a number that looks like a good faith split, that you can convince the attendees that everybody, that the town side has done the right side by this, and they should vote and let us get on with our business.
We've already started making cuts.
That's exactly what I heard.
Right, and that's right. That's what he's saying. I mean, the school has already gotten their 1/12 budget.
I mean, we can still have more discussion on it, but I want you to hear at least what it would sound like. So a motion for us would sound like, I move to make a floor motion at the 21st of August 2019 joint special town meeting with the NRSD and Town of Phillipston to amend the amount of the total Narragansett Regional School District budget to read 19.5 million, reducing the 19.7 number by 200,000, with the intended result of which would reduce the Templeton assessment from approximately 6.9 million to approximately 6.7 million.
See, my problem with that motion is that we're dealing with the district budget, and it's a formula. I mean, does that make sense, Carter? I don't think we can say it like that.
I would strip out I guess the last part of it was really kind of like the subtext.
If you're just trying to explain it.
I want to reduce that 19.7 number because I want to accept the Templeton assessment. If we move it to 19.4, that's, we're basically telling the school, you have to reduce
your budget by $200,000, but there's going to be a Templeton share and a Phillipston share, because that's what we're dealing with a district-wide meeting.
Wait a minute, 19.4 would make it 3.
Lower than 6.9.
Yeah, that's too much. They're never going to go for that.
So
who's not going to go for that?
19.
Terry was saying 19.4. But I think that's too much.
That is 19.4.
It's too much.
That's basically saying that we want you to take the lion's share of the cuts, where they...
Right, we can't.
I remember their original budget was 20.4, I think.
Yeah, and then they brought it down to 19.
Exactly.
19,786.
19.4, although it would help us in the calculation.
Yeah, Jeff has numbers.
19.5 is a better number to expect that the school committee is going to have to take a hard, long look once they get the mandate of 2 communities.
May I give the board 2 numbers?
Yeah.
The exact 50-50 split between where we had wanted to be and where the school district now wants to be. And this assumes for a moment that they use the June 4 House 1 numbers, because if you stray into that territory, it really starts to get very, very convoluted. The 50-50 split is $19,496,911. 19,500,000 is almost spot on, and certainly an easier number to work with in terms of making the simple motion, having the simple discussion.
Right.
And that, if that were the number, and I'm working with what the chairman is suggesting, and if they stuck with all of the House 1 numbers, not the final budget numbers, that would mean that we need to make $126,000 in cuts, which we showed you last May were doable without having to get deep into public safety. So from a perspective of sharing the burden, now they have a $20 million budget, you have an $8 million budget, but that really starts to get town meeting people getting really wonky. But in terms of a presentation of sharing the burden 50-50, having a number that is easily understood, easy to speak to, $19.5 million is that 50-50 split based on all those assumptions of numbers.
And we're assuming that they're going to take that into consideration when they've got the wind at their back already?
We are hoping, yes.
Well, that's a good way to say that. So, yes, right now, the school district believes that they have, quote-unquote, the wind at their back because they have that pre-authorization for 19.7. What we're doing is that we're using our communities as leverage to say, here is the budget that, in this process, when we get this far for a joint town meeting, we are now collectively getting together and we are making a decision. And when they have to consider that 19.5 number, which is, like Carter said, middle ground, I believe that you're going to have better discussions. They may say, nope, we've got the wind at our back, we're going to go with 19.7. Or they may actually say, now that the two communities have spoken, rather than continuing on in this Groundhog Day methodology of meetings, they may actually say, that's the compromise that we were looking for. The 16.49, that was the shot across their bow, that, that we didn't want to do any cuts whatsoever. But if you say, we're going to make some cuts, you make some cuts, I think that the community is basically saying, well, you know what I'm saying. To cut in a little bit more, if we get past that, if we compromise and we have our budget and we make this 112 go away, that doesn't mean that we finish the discussion. All those things that we were adamant about sending a message to the state and actually saying, what are we going to do this year?
Yeah, we have to do that.
We actually dig in and we entrench ourselves to say, we played compromise this year. Now we're going to go after the real sources of pain. I'm kind of thinking of Jeff mostly when I say that, to say that's where the gloves come off, to basically say whether the state or the school district needs to flinch at that point. We have the ability to maneuver at that point. I mean, they do too, but I think we get a little bit more maneuverability space rather than all of a sudden having this, our public safety sector, crumble under the pressure of a budget crisis, if that makes sense to you guys.
Yeah, it's not fair. And we already did one of Jeff's ideas where we sent out letters to our state reps, but that was a good idea. I mean, I signed one. I hope everybody else did. Do you have any thoughts, Jeff?
Depends. You want my personal thoughts or you want my official thoughts? My personal thoughts I will leave out of it because I have a road I'd like to go down, but I'm not here to root for Jeff Bennett. I'm here to root for the town as a whole, which is why I always try to think and try to act. For the purpose of discussion, and this will be up to the meeting to accept or not accept an amended motion, and once the meeting decides, then it goes to the school committee depending on what happens. So I would be of the mind to propose this 19.5 and see what the meeting thinks. You know, we're assuming that, we're talking like if we make this motion and the school committee's gonna come back and go, no, we can't do that. It's gonna be up to the people who are there to either go for this amended motion, vote for in favor of it, or speak against it and vote a different number. It could be the number 19,786, or they could propose a lower one.
Right.
But if we're ready and we bring this 19.5, it's a good faith effort on the part of the town. And then we can have the conversation and look at the numbers and stuff and possibly use that the next go-round, depending how things work out. So I think 19.5 would be a responsible thing for the Board of Selectmen to do on the behalf of the town of Templeton. I'm going to throw my personal thing under the table, and if I choose to speak, I'll speak at the meeting as a resident. But as a Board of Selectmen, I think the 19.5 is a responsible thing to do on behalf of the town's tax dollars. People may not agree with five people's decision, but that's what we have a town meeting for. Well, that's what this joint district meeting is for, excuse me. So I would make a motion for the board to be prepared, be ready for an amended motion at the joint district meeting of a $19.5 million district budget, and propose that to the meeting.
I have a first, and I have a second.
Second.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Jeff, how do you vote?
Jeff the Selectman says yes.
Terry?
I hear you, Jeff, because no means no, but what's for the good of the town and public safety, as a selectman, I have to say yes.
Mike?
Resoundingly yes.
And I vote yes as well.
Madam Chairman, may I just compliment Mr. Bennett on leaving his principled horse stabled for this.
Only for tonight, only for tonight.
For this decision here tonight, Mr. Bennett.
I think, but Principal Jeff, there are a lot of good ideas there. I don't disagree.
I know, he does have a
And
lot
the
of good
town still
ideas.
has to vote.
It's for the legislative body to decide.
I follow
Come on,
what he's
Bucket
saying, and
Bill.
I want to be able to address those things because he brings a lot of foundational problems within this. I definitely, yeah. Thank you.
My principal at the door allows Carter to keep a couple more hairs for the
Is there any old business to take care of?
We have nothing for you this evening, Madam Chairman.
Are there any board or staff comments?
I have one. August 21st, 2019, 7 p.m. at the auditorium. That's the normal location for the Templeton Annual Town Meeting. It's a joint district meeting. It's your damn money. Show up and vote. Your vote does count. 216 to 212 or whatever
Right.
it was.
What
Your
difference?
vote counts. Be there, please.
Terry? No comments?
I have nothing to say. I just want people to show up, because a lot of people blame us and criticize us, and, you know, I came on because I care about this town, and I believe that what I voted tonight as a selectman was in the best interest of our budget, of our public safety. But I'm here for you people, but if you don't show up, Bucketville, then what can I do? I just urge you to come out.
It's very important. Thank you. Mike?
Nothing further, thank you.
I don't have anything further either. Do we have?
I have nothing for you this evening, Madam Chairman.
Okay.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I have a first. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Hey,